What's happening, everybody? Welcome to LTMB Live. This is Let the Madness Begin. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
What's going on? We're happy to be here. We got lots to talk about today. We're glad you're with us. Thank you for joining. This is the spot to be at. I think I can stop hyping it up now, right?
Nah, you keep going, man. Yeah, you keep going, man.
Nah, I did enough.
Well, you make it.
You make it on too much. Doing too much countdown.
Oh, true that, man. You can't be too extra. You can't treat this like it's some sort of like it's like Club LTMB or something.
Exactly, man.
What's up, Moose Guy?
We do got some music. L Train, what's going on? Like I said, we do have a lot to talk about. There's some news. There's the confirmation hearing of Brett Kavanaugh that we'll talk about. Of course, there's some reactions to the whole Nike situation where Nike is pumping up Kaepernick. You know, they're including him in some ads. There was another ad that they ran. It came out yesterday.
Did it come out yesterday? They came out yesterday.
Yeah, the Dream Crazy.
The Dream Crazy. Because it was September 6th today, right?
Yeah.
September 5th was yesterday. So, yeah, it came out yesterday.
Okay.
I remember watching it, and it had only been released for 2 hours, and there was almost 500,000 views. After I watched the video, lasted 2 minutes, refreshed the page, 6,000 views.
Yeah, it's already got millions of views, man. So yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that. This insider in the White House, insider in the Trump administration. Making
specifically
some noise.
The Trump
anonymously wrote an op-ed about being the resistance inside. So like I said, we have much to talk about. So again, we're glad you're here with us. We know we'll get some more people that'll come in along the way. But let's get started since we have so much on the plate. This morning there was a shooting at Fifth Third Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. The assailant has been identified as Omar Santa Perez, who police believe has been residing in the area since 2015, I believe. 3 people were fatally shot, and Perez was also killed. So it's reported that Perez was armed with a 9mm weapon, and he had hundreds of rounds of ammunition as well. The Fifth Third complex is right. That houses the Fifth Third Bank's headquarters. So there were multiple officers exchanging gunfire with Perez. I think it's been reported about like 3 or 4 officers were, and initially they were shooting through the building, like through the glass from outside, as a way of striking Perez. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't stated that those 3 people that were killed by Perez. At this point, I think it'd be hard to ascertain that if they were shooting through the building.
There has not been an official, I guess, a comprehensive report release by the department, so they have to kind of like check, those shell casings to figure out which gun those.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do that.
Because I mean, what was Perez is dead, so they really can't, ascertain a motive.
Yeah, they haven't released the motive yet. I guess they're trying to build it, trying to see if Perez did have a motive, or what could have led to this. It doesn't seem well. Let me not say that. I don't know if this was like a targeted type of assault. If there was somebody specific that Perez wanted to go after or not, or if this was just like an indiscriminate shooting. At this point, we don't have those answers. But sad for the loss of life again. Mass shooting, 3 people that are gone too soon, no doubt. So in the coming days, I'm sure there'll be more answers. So moving on, today is primary day in Delaware, and the race to watch in Delaware is for senator. So the incumbent is Tom Carper, and he's a long time incumbent. He's been serving since 2001, and so he's facing a significant challenge from Carrie Evelyn Harris, and this of course is in the Democratic primary. there's a world of difference between these two candidates. Carper is seen as a corporate Democrat, a centrist, somebody that takes corporate money, uses super PACs, millions of dollars to the super PAC. He opposes single payer health care, opposes restoring Glass-Steagall banking regulations. He voted for Ajit Pai as chairman of the FCC. Conservative Democrat. Also, he's an incrementalist. In 2014, he opposed the Democratic effort to raise the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, to $10.10 an hour. Instead, he said, or he fought for something like that was more realistic. He said $9 an hour. I think that's more realistic, and that actually has a chance of actually getting passed. So he tempers expectations.
What's the point of running as a Democrat then?
I don't know, man. He's in Delaware. Delaware's a blue state, I guess,
It's almost superficially blue there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of centrist and conservative Democrats in Delaware, man.
And so they do you think it's just capitulating to the base and knowing what state you're in, or is it just like this is who they are? Man, or is it this is who they become, or this is who they are?
How is there any way to tell? We talked about that in the case of Kirsten Gillibrand in New York. Years before, when she was in the House, she was a conservative Democrat. She was a member of that Blue Dog Coalition, which is a conservative Democrat organization. And then when she started running for Senate and she became a U.S. Senator, now she's like this progressive. So, how do we know that it's not political expediency?
Yeah, and I almost want to say that like the labels are almost like inconsequential at this point as far as when we say like conservative or liberal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost inconsequential, especially if you're just looking at it from a policy standpoint.
True. Well, yeah, I mean, like toss out the labels and just go by what they actually do, not what they tell you, right? But anyway, so Harris, like I said, she is a significant challenger, and definitely hoping that she can pull off this win. Looking at what has happened across this country in primary season, there have been a lot of progressive wins. And I know there's this thought out there that the Democratic Party cannot change. We have been ones to say that as well, that we can't see it. It's like, we don't see it on the horizon. But nonetheless, all of these wins, and we know they are here, and here, and here. They're not nearly enough. But they are starting to, I guess, change the narrative to like, man, maybe at some point this is actually possible. That this type of ideology can actually become the base of the Democratic Party.
We've seen the reaction from Democratic leadership. So they know that progressives are starting to establish some kind of footprint.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And kind of infiltrate the party a little bit, and they're doing all that they can to try to quelch that infiltration. Yeah, they're trying to suplex this thing.
No doubt.
Like we saw that after Ocasio-Cortez won, the reaction from Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
And we saw that in that Politico article.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what I'm saying about Bernie Sanders.
Political articles.
I'm sorry. Plural.
Yes,
those
plural.
political articles trying to, let's say, in my opinion, they were very hasty in their, disposition against progressives and their success during the primaries. And then guess what happened right after that article? What happened?
Some wins.
A bunch of wins.
Some wins.
But were there articles about those wins?
Specifically the two authors that we talked about, and I can't remember those names offhand. But you
don't seem to care either.
No, I don't. I don't care. But I did after the win in Florida with Gillum. I was like, okay, let me check Politico, and I did see one article. It was talking about, he was backed by Bernie, blah blah blah, but it was not by either one of those two authors that was shitting on Bernie Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez and this whole progressive movement. So, But on that, again, let's recap a little bit of about what happened on Tuesday. Tuesday was the primaries in Massachusetts. So Rachel Rollins, who we talked about, she won her Democratic primary for the district attorney of Suffolk County, which contains Boston. So this is a huge seat, no doubt. And in a statement after she won, she said, "This is the time for us to claim our power and make good on our promises to make true criminal justice reform for the people in Suffolk County, reform that is progressive, that decriminalizes poverty, substance use disorder, and mental illness. This is the time to create a system that puts fairness and equity first as a model for the Commonwealth and the nation." So, bam, straight up. Note, I mean, I'm thrilled that another Larry Krasner, the DA in Philly. I'm thrilled that somebody like that won in Suffolk County. We talked about the neighboring county, Middlesex County, and the Democratic candidate that was of that mold too was Donna Padalano, but she ended up losing to the incumbent. But you can't win them all, no doubt. She did come somewhat close. It wasn't like a thrashing or anything like that. But like I said, no doubt I'm happy as can be that Rollins won the Democratic primary. Now she will go on to the general, where she's going to be facing independent candidate Mike Maloney, but she's favored to win by, a lot.
I guess in this political climate we're in right now, even like a close win by someone trying to reform a system that has affected so many lives, even a close win to me is a moral victory.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because we're kind of inching closer, I guess, to putting people within the system that do want to address certain systematic issues, you know what I'm saying, that contribute to this long-running imperialist endeavor known as the United States of America.
No doubt, man. Look, you got to have these kind of figures in place if you want to change the game up. In another race for the Democratic primary in Massachusetts' 7th district, Ayanna Pressley won, and she beat another it wasn't an incumbent in Rachel Rollins' case, but she beat the longtime incumbent Mike Capuano, who has been in office since 1999. Pretty much her sales pitch centered around diversity, change, changing the optics up, because that district is a majority minority district. And Capuano is, I believe he's a 66-year-old white guy. Presley is a 44-year-old black woman. So that was like the core of her pitch, because in substance, in policy, they were pretty much lockstep, and they were pretty much the same type of candidate. But I said before that if for no other reason, this guy has been in office, for like damn near 20 years. You've done your service. It's time to go. And if it, like I said, noting that her campaign strategy was about like diversity and getting younger, and especially a woman too. I'm definitely in favor of more women occupying the U.S. Congress, because right now we're like, more women are in the country, more women are in the world. It makes no sense that there's such a disparity between men and women in the U.S. Congress.
Because you're saying that, our representation and our leadership should at least, somewhat match up with our demographics.
Somewhat, to some degree.
And the point you made about their platforms being similar, yes, on the surface that may not mean much. But, we know when it comes to legislation and policy creation, everything is not cut and dry, right? So there might be things that she may not compromise on. You know what I'm saying? So even if their platform is the same, we don't really know what boundaries she sets when it comes to bipartisan type agreements and stuff like that, or bipartisan conversations. She may not compromise as much, even if her platform looks the same. So I'm kind of with you on that. Sometimes the new blood kind of brings in a different approach.
Exactly. You know no doubt. Like I said, I was very supportive of her candidacy, and we talked about one of his votes too for the Blue Lives Matter bill that we were not in support of. So that just gave me another reason.
I think that's what pretty much that's when he fell off the cliff.
Yeah, for me,
that's what separates those two. That creates a big gap,
yeah.
even if the rest of their platform is quite similar. That's a big ass gap.
It is. All right, so let's get to what's been going on this week, and that's the confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh. He is the nominee of President Donald Trump to take the place of the retiring Justice Kennedy. So today and yesterday as well, all week pretty much. Tuesday was the beginning of it, so there was no like question and response. It was just the opening. Mm-hmm. But on Wednesday and Thursday, before I say that, a typical tactic that you will see all the time in these confirmation hearings is deflection. You will see,
to say the least.
To say the least. The common strategy is deflection. Just like trying to go around. Questions. You don't answer direct questions. You want to get pinned down.
Acting like you don't understand the question.
Yes. Using a lot of words, but in essence, you're changing the subject.
It's like these very, let's say, seasoned politicians, very intellectually astute politicians.
No doubt.
Because they've had to go to law school.
Yes.
So they've been lawyers, they've been judges. So they're smart. Yeah. They understand language very clearly. So when they're like kind of waffling and going, exactly they're trying to avoid something.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? They become instantly like mentally. You see what I'm saying? Like
it's like they got transformed back to like grade school. Though.
Yeah, it's like they instantly they mentally regress instantly. I'm like,
simple questions, right? And like so, I said, Brett Kavanaugh, he has done the same thing on Wednesday and Thursday. So on, this was earlier today, I believe. He was fielding some questions from Senator Kamala Harris, and it was about whether he had discussed the Mueller investigation with anyone. Like I said, pretty simple questions, and this lasted about I think this whole question and response session lasted about 8 or 9 minutes. So he was asked again if he had spoken to anybody about the Mueller investigation, and after a little bit of a roundabout type of answer, he finally said, "Well, yeah, he has talked to a few judges about it, other judges about it." So then.
Like, you're still, like, that was not the question. Like, why are you not answering the question? It's like first he was like, I don't
pretty
know.
Much.
I don't know everybody who works there.
Well, no, see, I ain't say that yet.
Oh, okay, okay.
You're proceeding now. Okay.
All right.
So like I said, it began with just, have you spoken with anybody about it? And after like a lot of blah, 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 he's like, yeah, I talked to some judges about it. Then she said, okay, now, have you spoken to anybody at the law firm, Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres about Mueller or the Mueller investigation?
Specific.
This question, and this was the main section of the question and response area that took up at least like 7 of those minutes, like 7 or 8 of those minutes. And it seemed like he just could not understand the question. And the reasoning for the question is this. So Mark Kasowitz is the one who founded this law firm, and Kasowitz was the personal attorney of Donald Trump back in 2017, and he was hired because of the Mueller probe. Now he only lasted about 2 months, but still, of course, there's a connection. There's been some talk that Brett Kavanaugh have had some conversations with this particular law firm about the Mueller investigation.
And again, why is that important? Because if it's proven that he had any kind of conversation with anybody in that law firm that's directly connected to Trump, he would have no choice but to recuse himself on any matters if they present themselves in regard to the Mueller probe.
Yes.
So
again, this lasted about 8 or 9 minutes. And he did not provide an answer. The Republican Senator Mike Lee. Yeah, he tried to intervene.
Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yes, he intervened, and he was like, "Well, hold on. he couldn't possibly know everybody that works at this law firm. So, maybe you should provide a list of everybody that works at the law firm, and then he can answer the question.
That's dubious, because that's not what Kamala Harris was asking. It was a very direct and specific question. Says, hey, have you talked to anyone? That's a pretty broad question.
Yeah,
that's actually an easy question. She didn't say, did you talk to this specific person.
Exactly.
Which would have actually made the question difficult. Right. It was anyone from this law firm. Have you talked to anyone from this law firm? The way Mike Lee kind of distorted her question was almost saying as if like, oh, I mean, law firms are huge with a lot of people. There's no way he could have known who he talked to. I was like, she didn't ask him that. She just asked, did you talk to anyone at this law firm about this specific case? But he was like, oh, I can't answer that question because I don't know everybody at the law firm. I'm like, dog, she's not asking you whether you know everybody. She's just saying, did you speak to anyone? It's like, it's a simple damn question. Like, did you purchase a baked apple pie from McDonald's? That's a simple question, right? You wouldn't answer that and say, man, I don't know everybody.
Well, I have been there, but
I don't know everybody that works at McDonald's. Do you have a?
And I don't know where all the McDonald's are either.
And I don't know whether that particular McDonald's had any baked apple pies left. Do you have a particular person that works at that particular McDonald's in mind? Shaniqua, like Leroy, like what? Who?
So either Kavanaugh knows that he did talk to somebody at the law firm about the investigation, or he talked to somebody that does work there about the investigation, but he doesn't know that they work there. Which I don't think the latter is true.
Exactly.
I don't think that's true,
because that would be irresponsible. My bad. No, I didn't mean to stop. I didn't mean to stop you in your tracks like that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but look, he would know who he spoke to. He would know who he spoke to. So the fact that he's trying to like just throw up the stiff arm, the Heisman to this question, we know what's going on here. Again, it's a tried and true method of trying to not answer a question, because if he does lie about it, then he's under oath. That would be trouble for him.
Oh yes, that would be. I guess you can commit perjury during these confirmation hearings.
Yes, you can. So that's why they don't want to answer questions.
But what would the correct answer have been, though? Like, if you just want to tell the truth as an honorable man, as an honorable individual, what would be the correct answer? No, that would be a criminal conflict. Miss Harris.
Okay, yeah.
That would be a criminal conflict of interest. Right. I would never do such a thing under any circumstances. Next question.
But he didn't say that.
Actually, that would have cut like a lot of this extra stuff out. They could have moved on.
If that was true, then that would be the answer. But that wasn't the answer. So, again, like I said, you saw a lot of this. There was actually another exchange between Kavanaugh, and Senator Patrick Leahy, in which it seems like he got caught in a lie about some stolen documents. So, Senator Leahy was asking him about some Democratic documents that were stolen and were provided to Kavanaugh about, I guess, the subject matter and like Democratic talking points in that confirmation hearing. And they actually showed them on the screen as well, and they were labeled like confidential. This is material that should not have been provided to Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
But he got it and he read it. Apparently he read it, so he was just trying to like talk his way out of it. But a lot of times he was not even looking directly in the eye of Senator Leahy. He didn't know what to say.
It's pretty much already been proven that he lied.
Yeah.
About these emails and getting information he was not supposed to get while he was a federal judge, right?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and there were two different ones. Like it was one about the documents about that confirmation hearing, and then going back what you were talking about. I think that was back
2004,
in
2004,
yeah, something like that. It might have been 2004. But yeah, it was some years ago where it was proven that he did it was the same type of thing was done by some dude named Manny something.
Miranda.
Yeah, something like that.
Something Miranda. I think it's Miranda.
But yeah, man. So Look, this confirmation here, and there were more protesters today as well. More people taken out of the proceedings because this is a sham, man. And that's what it looks like to me. It's a total sham. The documents that the not just the Democratic senators that are on that Judiciary Committee, but the Republicans one as well. No doubt. I mean, they didn't have time to review everything that could be pertaining to this individual and form questions for him, and not even mentioning the material that was not afforded to them that's being blocked by executive privilege. So this is all a sham. It looks like, no doubt, he's going to be on the way to being approved by this Judiciary Committee, and then when this full Senate gets to vote, it's probably going to be up, along party lines.
Oh, no, it's going to be along party lines. And then, of course, you're going to have some Democrats that are going to...
Yep. Heitkamp, Donnelly.
Yep. And then Feinstein. She was... I don't know about her. I just remember there was a moment in the confirmation hearing where she apologized to Kavanaugh and Grassley. I thought, when she was apologizing, it was about something else.
Yeah.
But... it looks like she was apologizing for what Kavanaugh had to go through and the Democrats trying to stall the process and all the protesters. I was like, wow.
All right, so something else happened at this confirmation hearing. I believe this was on Tuesday. So there's a woman by the name of Zena Bash, and she has worked in D.C. for some years. She has worked for Brett Kavanaugh. She worked on Ted Cruz's presidential campaign, and she also worked for the Trump administration as well on developing immigration policy. But on Tuesday, she was sitting directly behind Brett Kavanaugh during the confirmation hearing, and she could be seen with a mean mug on her face, and she was kind of like smug, and she was like gesturing when the Democratic senators were speaking. But then there was another time where you could see her making a hand gesture, and so this is a still of an image that was captured during that confirmation hearing. You can see her right hand, it's making that symbol, like that, okay symbol. And like that's a symbol that everybody is familiar with. Usually I don't usually do it, but when I do it, it's like sarcastic in nature, like sure, like whatever.
Like, okay,
you know what I'm saying?
like,
sure.
Okay, guy.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, right? But this symbol, most people know, has been co-opted by some Trump supporters and white nationalists, white supremacists, racist people.
Kind of like the Pepe Frog thing.
Exactly.
That's what they do. They take innocuous symbols, innocuous imagery for the purpose of like codifying it within their belief system.
Right.
So it's not recognized. So only they know about it.
Right.
Even though it's just a highly normalized symbol or gesture that's like a little wink and a nod. You know what I'm saying? That's how they communicate.
It's like coded language.
Yeah.
So that they can communicate among each other without all the backlash.
Like just like mugs are not going to be open with like a swastika or something.
Exactly.
A mug's not going to be doing the Laura Ingraham thing on stage.
She was just dumb for that.
She was dumb.
But anyway, so there were people that were questioning, is that what she was doing? So her husband came to her defense, and her husband is a United States U.S. attorney, and his name is John Bash, and he said on Twitter, the attacks today on my wife are repulsive. Everyone tweeting this vicious conspiracy theory should be ashamed of themselves. We weren't even familiar with the hateful symbol being attributed to her for the random way she rested her hand during a long hearing. So he continued. He mentioned that her mother, I believe, her mother is Mexican. Zena was actually born in Mexico. Her father is Jewish, and her grandparents were Holocaust survivors. So he mentioned on Twitter that they have no affiliation with hate groups or any of that. They didn't even know what this whole thing was about. My whole thing, like my personal opinion about this is, actually, I'm gonna focus on language that he used.
Random.
Yes, he said random. Let me see. He said the random way she rested her hand during a long hearing. Now, I challenge anybody to make the make a similar hand gesture that Zena Bash did. Okay, so you can cross your hands. You can put your hand on your hand over your arm, and it seems purposeful.
Or
to me, it seems like you would have to mean to do this now.
Or you can take hours of footage from any kind of event where there are thousands of people or a few people, and look in the crowd and see if anybody is making these same gestures or similar gestures, and you will not find it because it's not natural.
Yeah, it's not a natural movement.
For him to call it random means that it's not purposeful. So why would he say that, knowing good and well, even if let's just say there's no ill intent. Let's just believe that for one moment and say there's no ill intent. It doesn't mean anything. To say it's random is a bit dubious to me, knowing good and well that people naturally don't hold their fingers like that, or that's not a natural position.
Hold it like this, you can hold it like that.
Yeah,
you can tap your hand.
I've never just been playing with my hands and just been like just how you just play with your hands, like you're sitting down, you rest them on your knees, or you just rest your arm on another arm, a hand, whatever it is. My fingers have never.
See, me too. I do this during the show all the time.
Yeah, like when people crack their knuckles, people just play with their fingers
like
when they're just fidgeting around, when they have nothing to do with their digits. But like that is very
and just putting it on your arm like that. You know what would have been more...
And usually the OK symbol is usually something that is done in an upright motion, if that's the case, if it's an OK symbol.
But, so you're saying his explanation does not make sense. And I'm saying that as well.
Okay.
What would make more sense, because you remember I noted that during the hearing, she was smirking a lot. She was like, when the Democratic senators were talking, she was like... doing like that, mean mug, like she was not in agreement to what they were saying. So could it be possible that when she was sitting there, that she was like, yeah, sure.
Sure, guy.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, right. Like being sarcastic.
Yes.
It could have been.
That would make sense.
Exactly. So that's almost like saying that's the easiest explanation.
Yes.
And that's kind of the explanation that I would initially go for. But if that's the explanation, then why didn't her husband say that? That would seem like the easiest explanation.
It's not a natural movement.
It's not a natural
random.
Yeah.
No, it's not random.
And I like adding in that other stuff as if all that matters. Like someone's family and someone's background matters, and it doesn't.
No.
And so you purposefully name all these minority groups, right?
Yep.
And think about that. Think about that, for instance, right? What's the purpose of naming all these other groups? You're actually acknowledging that historically these groups have been treated incorrectly. Mm-hmm. So in defense of his own wife, he kind of gave credence to that whole concept, that concept that a lot of people deny. What was the point of mentioning all those other groups that have a connection to his wife? Like as if somehow there haven't been members of, I guess, a demoralized class or members of a disenfranchised class that hasn't joined the majority.
Exactly, man.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in a very Stephen-esque Django kind of way.
Right. Are there not hateful Jewish people? Are there not
hateful black people? Hateful Mexicans? So it's like there's always members of, I guess, the minority class that join in with the oppression that the dominant class is perpetuating.
And would we be surprised if she was one of those people working for the Trump administration? Are you serious?
And that's the thing. Like you naming all these groups, this is a Holocaust survivor, or he's Mexican. I was like, that matters not considering the administration that you vouch for. Like get out of here with that, man.
Like I said, I'm not gonna immediately just say, yeah, that's what she was doing. She it was just like some coded language. She was making that symbol as a show of white power or something like that. I'm not gonna immediately say that, but the excuse that her husband delivered makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and a lot of people would just pass this off as trolling, because I've seen a lot of people say, "Hey, don't worry about it. It's just people trolling. They're just trying to get a reaction." I was like, first of all, you've got to think about the mentality of a person that would even want to troll.
Yeah.
Using a symbol like that. So even if it's trolling. But see, this is not some random Twitter user. This is not some random user on social media. This is somebody who has a certain position.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's you can't just consider it trolling, because most likely that trolling has an origin behind some sort of attitude, mindset, or policy creation.
Right. And she was working on immigration policy
with your boy Stephen Miller.
All right.
My bad, not your boy. I was like
your boy. All right. So let's move on. So there's a lot of talk going on right now about an article that appeared in the New York Times. And it's an op-ed. It's an opinion piece. And the author is anonymous. Well, we don't know who it is, but the New York Times editorial board does. And it stated that this author is a senior official within the Trump administration. Unnamed, though, like I said. And the title of the piece is, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration." So I'm going to read a few remarks that appeared in this piece. It says that, first of all, I guess the overarching message of this piece is to say that Trump is not going about doing his job the right way. I am part of the resistance within the administration that is, I guess, keeping things afloat.
Yes. Keeping things, I would say, balanced in the face of a very unstable leader.
Yes. Like this individual is part of the resistance operation within the administration that I guess protects.
Yo, God, I'm trying to. You about to bust out laughing, like.
But okay, so they're like, this person is trying to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't wreak havoc on the United States of America. Yeah. So they're there to make sure that, like, you know, the good things, or I guess the good things from their perspective, continues to happen. But like the bad things that are, I guess, espoused by Donald Trump and like his language and how he just makes these decisions based on emotion and not like what's really best for, I guess, the United States of America and its people. They're there to catch that before it actually goes into place. That's like the overarching message of this whole piece.
Okay, if that is the message, I'm trying to figure out, like, what have they done in order to kind of like, I guess, progress that agenda of stopping Trump and like destroying the country or destroying America. If that's their agenda, what have they actually done? Like, if that's the aim, I'm trying to figure out, what have they done to block any of the things that he's done and his agenda? Yeah, like, they're calling them. What movements have they been making? If they have been making movements, it doesn't seem as if those movements have amounted to blocking him significantly.
Right.
Most of the blocking that the Trump administration has experienced has been done through federal judges. We've talked about that in many stories.
Very true. Very, very true. And so this author makes it clear, I guess, like, where they're coming from. So I'm going to read a little portion of this. It says, "To be clear, ours is not the popular resistance of the left. We want the administration to succeed and think that many of its policies have already made America safer and more prosperous. But we believe our first duty is to this country, and the president continues to act in a manner that is detrimental to the health of our republic." So that makes it clear that it's not like they are in opposition to the Trump agenda or the Republican agenda. To me, all this reads like is that they are another Senator Jeff Flake, and they just hate the way
it's going down.
Yeah, they just hate the style of President Trump. They hate the rhetoric of President Trump, but the actual policy positions, oh yeah, they're all down for that.
Which is like very superficial.
It is.
It's very fake and empty.
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like to me. Because again, my question still stands. Like if they are actually the resistance of anything, why haven't they blocked anything? You see what I'm saying?
They say, They say, don't get me wrong, there are bright spots that the near ceaseless negative coverage of the administration fails to capture: effective deregulation, historic tax reform, a more robust military, and more. But these successes have come despite, not because of, the president's leadership style, which is impetuous, adversarial, petty, and ineffective. Again, all surface-based. They just don't like... And we have talked about this going back to before he was even elected president. The agenda of President Trump is the same agenda of the Republican Party. It's just that his is more abrasive. The way he actually conducts his business is just more abrasive, and it's harder to swallow.
Yeah, he just kind of... If he's there, he's like a Frankenstein of theirs. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much what he is.
Yeah, their own creation.
It's their own creation. He just kind of like walks with a different kind of limp. That's basically what it is.
A more exaggerated
It's limp. A more exaggerated limp, and they don't like that. It's pretty much like... It's like Republicans were behind him, you know, when it came to squashing DACA. They were behind him on that.
No doubt. No doubt.
They were behind him on the Muslim ban, the Muslim travel ban. Yeah. They were behind him on the transgender ban.
Yup. What about trying to repeal Obamacare?
They were behind him before they were behind him.
Exactly.
Because they were doing that before he was elected.
Right. Again, so he's just another Republican. He's just something that is more distasteful, I guess.
Yeah, he's just like... He's like the garbage pail version.
Going back to the 80s, boy.
Yeah, boy. He's just garbage pail version of them, and they don't like the sight of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He got worms coming out of his eye.
Because they understand, though, because the garbage, the pure trash that they deliver upon the American people
is presented as like a batch of roses.
Right. If you can't present it as a batch of roses, then it's going to look like the shit that it is.
It is, man.
The chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, Ronna McDaniel, she said in response to this op-ed from this anonymous person within the Trump administration, she said, quote, "To the anonymous official who refuses to do your job, you are no hero. You have spoken out against the taxpayers who pay your salary. You have attacked those who gave you the privilege of serving your nation." None of that I agree with. None of that I agree with. You have spoken out against the taxpayers? No. I mean,
what does that even mean?
I don't even know. Like, I don't believe in what the op-ed reads like, because again, it's just like you don't like President Trump's style. That's it. But you're in favor of like all the policy positions, pretty much. But to say that you've attacked those that gave you the privilege of serving your nation and you spoke out against taxpayers, like, to me, this is like, if this is real, okay? If this is real, then to me, this is, like, I'll say it again, this is an unnamed Jeff Flake that wants to call out to people that voted for Trump but are not in, I guess, they're not in support of his style. They're not in support of maybe some things that he has said or done along the way. And it's like, this is just sending word to you, yo, hey, we got you back. We're in here. You know what I'm saying? I know all of you don't like the way he's been conducting his business, but we're here. You know, we're here for you. It's just this is nothing to me.
Oh, it's nothing.
This is a big nothing.
And
to me,
I guess a lot of people have speculated about who it is, and Pence was first on the list because of a particular word that was used.
Right.
That's one of Pence's, I guess, keywords he's used in a lot of his speeches,
right,
and only he has used it. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like lodestar, something like that.
Omarosa also, she had some words, but she said that she thought it was somebody in Pence's office.
And that's the thing, like, that would make sense, like, to kind of like cover your tracks. If you know someone uses a particular term all the time, mm-hmm, that's what someone who is trying to draft something secretly and anonymously would do to try to throw people off. Right. Oh, I'm gonna use this word so the finger is pointed at somebody else. In this case, it's Mike Pence, because he uses that word. I saw something, somebody posted something on Twitter and said, and spelled it a bit differently, because I think lodestar is like LODE, STAR.
Right.
Someone spelled it LODESTAR. ADSTAR,
okay.
and then said it was Pence's porn name.
Twitter be Twitter, man.
Twitter be Twitter, man. But I don't know, man. To me, I don't care who it is. It's whack to me. It's whack to me, and I'm kind of glad that, you know, it wasn't like presented as something that the opposition party was responsible for. Because man, that would have been easy for Trump.
Yeah, that would have been. He would have knocked that out the park.
Man, he would have knocked that out the park. Now it's like some internal combustion going on.
Yeah,
and it's just,
and you can't point a finger at
Democrats, and it further reveals still how unstable, you know, this administration is. So,
time and time again.
So who knows? But again, I'm just tossing this up as a non-starter.
Yeah, me too. Trump, of course, is mad about this on Twitter. On Twitter, he says, "Does the so-called senior administration official really exist, or is it just the failing New York Times with another phony source? If the gutless anonymous person does indeed exist, the Times must, for national security purposes, turn her over to government at once."
Okay, number one, first of all,
this is funny.
You know he's pump faking, or you know he's doing the whole like, you know, hold me back, son, hold me back. You know he's doing that because when you say turn somebody over to the government, you know you ain't. You ain't talking about anything.
No.
Because that's so like turn them over to the government. Like what?
Did
like
they
the FBI?
divulge like state
what?
secrets or something like that? No.
Vague.
And how did they break the law?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They just said, hey, we're just in here, you know, trying to do what we can.
Chilling.
We're just in here trying to do what we can to make sure this country doesn't fail. Now, that's what they're saying. I'm not saying what they're doing is accomplishing that. I'm just saying that that's their aim. We're just making sure, you know, things go smoothly, things don't go off the rails. Yeah. Honestly, there's really nothing illegal about that.
No, there is don't say the really. There's nothing illegal about that. But President Trump, again, he's losing his shit. He's the failing New York Times. I love when he says that because New York Times is failing.
They've been this is the longest fail I've ever seen. It's like, you know, like when somebody falls in slow motion. I'm thinking that's what it is because he's been talking about the failing New York Times for years. Like, how long does it take somebody or a company to fail? This is a slow failing process.
And then he got into his own ego too. I believe this was at the White House, and he was talking about this to reporters, saying that, man, you know, once I get done being president, you know, hopefully it's you know, in 6.5 years from now. But you know, though these organizations like New York Times and CNN, they're gonna be out of business because I'm the draw. You know, if they don't have me to talk about, they're gonna be out of business. Like, man,
wait a second. I'm like,
just man,
weren't they in
feeling
business
yourself way too much?
Like, they were in business before you came on the scene, dog.
Oh, I know. Oh man, this dude, man, feeling himself way too much, man. All right,
he's like Terrell Owens, but without any of the stats. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if Terrell Owens was like he was, but he had no stats.
No stats.
Like celebrating like you didn't even score, dog.
All right, let's go to this video we have with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So,
oh man,
I believe on the last show we noted, we talked about previously about a Trump tweet in which he maligned that the DOJ and I guess the FBI were after Representative Chris Collins from New York and Representative Duncan Hunter from California. So both of them have recently been indicted because of different things. With the case of Representative Collins, it was because of insider trading. And with the case of Representative Hunter, it was because he was using his campaign funds for personal use. Him and his wife were indicted. So on Twitter recently, President Trump said something. It was directed to the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, saying something like, hey, pretty much the only thing you could take away from this was like, why are you going after these two Republicans right before they have an election to win, a re-election to win? Like, you're not doing the right thing, Jeff. You should let these go. Like that's the only thing that you could come away with.
Yeah, he basically said, like, you know, he just cares about winning elections. He doesn't care about
crime.
Whether Duncan Hunter or Christopher Collins broke the law.
Right.
He was looking past that.
Yeah, doesn't care. They have elections to win, so this was a bad time to actually go after them. So we talked about that. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she was on ABC, and she fielded a question about this from George Stephanopoulos.
You about this tweet the president put out over Labor Day. So many Republican senators are saying he crossed a line in this tweet, saying 2 long-running Obamacare investigations of 2 very popular Republican congressmen were brought to a well-publicized charge just ahead of the midterms by the Jeff Sessions Justice Department. 2 easy wins now in doubt because there's not enough time. Why does the president think these are flawed prosecutions? It sounds like he's castigating the Justice Department for not protecting his allies in Congress.
I think the president's focus, I can't get into ongoing investigations, but I can tell you is the president's made clear that he's unhappy with the fact that he feels like there's often a double standard that takes place in the Department of Justice, and he wants to see a level
Where's the
playing
double
field.
standard here?
Look,
What's wrong with these prosecutions?
Look, nobody disagrees with the fact if someone does something wrong, it should be looked into. And the president wants that same type of fervor applied to some of the people that have been so politically biased against him and so politically biased against Republicans and conservatives to be looked at as well. And that's what the president's talking about.
Tell me, anybody that heard that video clip, please tell me how that makes sense. She said, look. We as an administration, President Trump, I'm speaking for President Trump. She said that President Trump is on the side of law enforcement, no doubt. So if somebody's breaking the law, yeah, definitely they have to go after they have to go after them. But she said, we just want the double standard gone. She wants the same people, like the same people that were going after by the FBI and DOJ, Chris Collins and Representative Duncan Hunter. We need the people that are politically biased against President Trump and the administration gone after in the same way.
To be targeted in the same way that Republicans have.
How does that make sense?
Not only first of all, number one, Stephanopoulos asked a freaking question, a specific question, and you can tell she was already getting ready to spin it because she said, I can't, answer certain questions about an investigation.
Ongoing investigation.
I was like, he didn't ask you anything about ongoing investigation.
No, he asked about that tweet.
And he also asked about where is the double standard. Yes. That's the part that I'm like, that I was waiting for. I was like, okay, she's about to say something really good. And I was like,
she did.
She said something really good, good and stupid.
Yeah.
Because, to me, that would only make sense if Christopher Collins and Duncan Hunter were targeted because they were showing political bias towards Democrats. That's not why they're in the predicament that they're in. That's not why they have legal troubles right now. They're not in legal trouble because they were showing bias to the opposition party. They're in legal trouble because they committed crime. So,
and who went after them?
A Republican-led Department of Justice.
And a Republican-led
FBI
as well.
So that makes no sense. So if there's a double standard, it's it's like inter-party. You see what I'm saying? It's an inter-party double standard. If there's a double standard.
If there is. She's basically conflating criminal activity, actually doing things that are illegal, with just being politically biased.
And what else is she suggesting, though? She's suggesting something actually more sinister. She's suggesting that simple bias against the president, should warrant an FBI investigation,
right.
regardless if there's any evidence to show that the individuals are doing anything illegal. That's pretty much what she said.
So she wants the FBI and the DOJ to target people that she believes are unfairly politically biased against the Trump administration.
And
but that's not criminal activity. So why should that involve law enforcement organizations?
And what she's doing is, to justify that position, she's just, she used the word double standard to kind of, I guess, as some sort of qualifier.
As an equal.
As an equal. That's what she was doing. She was using it as a qualifier for her dumbass point.
Yep.
There's a double standard, so therefore the next point I'm going to make is going to make sense.
The only thing that would have made sense is that if there was a Representative Collins on the Democratic side or Representative Duncan Hunter on the Democratic side that did similar things, or maybe just not similar things, but it was criminal activity. But this DOJ and this FBI was like
purposely ignoring it.
We're not going to go after
do
them.
it. But again, I think a good follow-up question would be like, okay, who do you have in mind? Like who is out there that's guilty of something?
Because obviously she had somebody in mind.
No, I don't think that's the aim. She doesn't care. I don't think she cares about who's guilty and who's not. She just cares that, I guess she cares more about deflection.
That's what I was gonna say. She just cares about deflecting and absolving President Trump of any responsibility for the comments that he made.
And she makes herself look stupid.
Very stupid.
By doing that.
Twisting herself in knots, man.
It's crazy, man. And you can see it on her face. Like, literally. Like, her face is literally...
The smoky eye?
Yeah, she does. she literally has that Forrest Whitaker eye going on, man. It's actually worse. It's like a very progressed condition. She got progressed Forrest Whitaker eye.
Oh, man.
Yeah, her eye is gonna be in the middle of her face by the end of this first term.
Oh,
she gonna look like the Goonies thing. Hey, you guys.
All right.
Sloth. What's that, Sloth? My bad.
I can't remember now. I can't even with you right now. I can't. You gonna throw me off right here. All right. Let's go to let's go to this Democratic, the Democratic effort in the House, Yemen war.
Yeah.
All right. So on Thursday, a group of Democratic U.S. House members announced that they were going to try to force a U.S. vote. Well, let me start that over. On Thursday, a group of Democratic House members announced that they were going to try to force a vote on the U.S. involvement within the Yemen war, and they were going to try to remove U.S. forces from that war. Now, stop me if you have heard this before, because it has been tried before. It has been tried in the House, and it has also been tried in the Senate as well. Now, the previous effort included the person that is leading this effort this go around again, and that's Representative Ro Khanna. I believe the joint statement said, "We are preparing to introduce a new privilege resolution in September, invoking the War Powers Resolution of 1973 to withdraw U.S. armed forces from engaging in the Saudi-led coalition's conflict with the Houthis should additional escalations continue and progress fail to be made towards a peace agreement." So, again, there are individuals, we know that there are individuals within the House, there are individuals within the Senate. In the Senate, I believe it was a bipartisan effort. It was with Bernie Sanders. I believe one of them was Mike Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one, maybe I think it's the senator from Connecticut. I think it's Chris something, maybe. I'm not sure. But like I said, we've seen this before, and what has happened? Those efforts have been squashed.
See, like the last resolution effort was actually kind of less intrusive.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Because the last one,
that was a Senate effort.
That was a Senate effort. That was just trying to get a conversation on the table.
Yes.
Well, sorry. Can we have a conversation about having a conversation?
Right.
And that fell flat.
It had no teeth to it. All it was, hey, can we agree to have a conversation about our involvement?
Yeah, we just want to agree that we're going to have a conversation, which is very, G-rated.
Very. And that got
shut down. So I don't know how far this is going to go, because this is the next level. This is about PG-13.
Yeah.
This is PG-13
because they actually want to force a vote to withdraw the U.S. forces from the war. And look, the U.S. forces within this Yemen war, it's not like I don't believe we have U.S. soldiers like that are on the ground actually fighting this war, but they are providing assistance with, as it concerns refueling planes, providing weapons, providing money, strategic, tactical resources, stuff like that.
Refueling and all that.
So we are very much a part of this war, even if none of the U.S. soldiers are actually firing gunshots. And throughout this war, it's been over 2 years now, there have been thousands of innocent civilians that have been killed. It's led to famine. It's led to innocent civilians being killed. Just recently, it was weeks ago, a school bus that was just making a trip to they were on a field trip to go to like some camp or something like that, I believe. But yeah, on their first stop, I believe they visited a market. There was a strike. 40 children were killed. Innocent children, of course, were killed, like under 15 years old. I mean, it's a catastrophe over there.
Refugees.
Yes.
Creating refugees.
Yeah. So there's no doubt we are firmly behind the movement to withdraw U.S. forces from this war, or to just get we want them gone. But
at least a good step would at least be like having the conversation.
Yeah, that's one, because
or putting it up for a vote.
That's what. See, so because if you put it up for a vote, then you would force the Congress, the U.S. Congress, to actually do their job, because they're abdicating that responsibility right now, because it is the U.S. Congress that can declare war. So either we are a part of the war officially, and you have to actually enter into an official pact with Saudi in this Yemen war, or we're not part of it and we need to be the ghosts. We're not going to provide all this tactical assistance anymore.
But what does that tell you, though?
That they don't want to.
So
have
if you're
that
saying
conversation.
Exactly. So if they're kind of shifting responsibility and kind of like going like this, then what does that tell you?
That this is going to be shut down as well. This effort right here. And you know what? I'll tell you why I believe it. Like, I think the language that they used, I don't know if it's similar language in the resolution that they let me see now. They said this, what I just read off was a joint statement. I don't know the exact language they used in the resolution, but what troubles me is they use language like we're preparing to introduce a new privileged resolution, blah blah blah, from U.S. armed forces from engaging in the Saudi-led coalition conflict with the Houthis should additional escalations continue and progress fail to be made.
Oh, so it's almost like
that a get out of jail free card?
It is a get out of jail free card, because then it will give, even if it's untrue, or like even if it actually makes its way to a vote and passes, the war could still go on, because they could subjectively say, well, it hasn't gotten worse. You see what I'm saying? They could subjectively just look at it and say, it hasn't gotten worse.
It gives them an out.
It gives them an obvious out, and an out that they will undoubtedly use, because that's a very subjective thing.
I know. That's why I don't like. Again, we don't know the exact language, what was used in this resolution, but from this joint statement, man, you just gave them a giant gaping hole to get out of actually forcing a vote. So
you think that was kind of like a carrot stick?
I don't know, man.
You think, because I mean, if we can sit here and notice that loophole, I'm pretty sure they're going to be like, oh shit. Like,
they're the ones that, I mean, this is a joint statement too. You don't think they saw that?
No. Not just that, but like when it comes to a vote.
The people that are going to be on the other side of this.
That's what I'm saying. The people are going to be on the other side.
If we, like I said, if we can like see that immediately, then please, they're going to be dozens of eyes on this.
They're going to be chomping at the bit.
Man,
ready to approve of this resolution.
And one thing I noticed about this list of Democratic House members that are involved in this, like I said, one is Ro Khanna. Another one is Democratic Representative Jim McGovern from Massachusetts, Tulsi Gabbard, Michael Capuano, who is now the outgoing representative in Massachusetts 7th District, Barbara Lee, California. You know what name I did not see? I did not see that Arizona House, the Arizona Democratic House member, Kirsten Sinema, who was running for governor in Arizona. You remember when we talked about her? What was this, last week? I believe we talked about her and her record, in her rhetoric. She said, she's anti-war. In her rhetoric, she's anti-war, and like I didn't have a lot of information about whether that was true or not, because I hadn't dug into her voting record or anything like that. But just in her rhetoric, it looked like, yeah, she's anti-war. But I did note, I wonder how she felt about the effort in the previously about the Yemen war. I stated that last week. So now we have a brand new effort in the U.S. House to force a vote on the Yemen war, and her name is nowhere to be found.
So she's nowhere in the list of co-sponsors. But see, what about conflicts beyond Yemen, though? I mean, because we sell weapons to a lot of different countries and a lot of different factions. So, like, if we're going to have this conversation about Yemen, shouldn't it be broadened to other wars we get ourselves involved in, or other proxy wars that we're not officially in?
Yeah, it should. But shoot, if we can't look, we know that this is going to be dismissed. So if we can't even get a conversation or a vote on this, you think we're gonna get a conversation or a vote on anything else? Nah, man, it's not gonna happen.
There's too much money tied in weapons distribution, weapons sales.
Yep, no doubt. All right, let's do the we got a lot of time. Okay, let's do the regulations.
You talking about Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
All right, let me get this. Let me see, is that right there? Yeah, I don't know why it's over there. All right, so one of President Trump's main objectives within his presidency is to loosen regulations he believes are burdensome, they are obstacles to job growth and profit. So he has, though, included the caveat that he didn't want to loosen regulations on safety. On safety standards for workers. And he believes, he has projected that view like he's a man of the people. Like he is a president for the working class, the middle class, the common man, But that doesn't seem to be holding water. So this is from an article on Politico. Trump's mine safety chief, David Zatazalo, is a former coal executive who, as recently as 2011, was cited by the agency he now leads for a pattern of safety violations. When Zatazalo was president and CEO at Rhino Resources, a West Virginia miner was killed when a portion of a rock wall collapsed. The accident occurred after Rhino already had been cited for one worker safety violation and before it received a second. So Zatazalo, he also claimed in his confirmation hearing that, I guess, Rhino Resources, they were at fault because, quote, Rhino Resources, quote, was not doing what they should have been doing. So that was a way of distancing himself from, any irregularities that were going on at Rhino Resources, and just like I said, distance himself from any, that particular incident where somebody died. So under the Obama administration, inspections had to occur before workers actually began their shift. And that would only make sense because you would want to, I guess, iron out the wrinkles before putting people in jeopardy when they actually start work, right?
That's fairly common no matter what industry you work in.
Yeah, check to make sure everything's cool before you actually go to work.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, it was way back in the day. I worked at UPS, and that's what they did. They kind of prided themselves on safety. They actually kept a count and a log of how many days we went without having some sort of incident or accident. They always checked equipment because this equipment is constantly moving. Heavy things are on it, so they want to ensure that there's nobody injured, for one, because they don't want to lose a worker, and for two, they don't want to be liable.
There's good reasons.
Right.
So in April, the Mine Safety and Health Administration that Zatazalo leads, they said that they would allow inspections to begin while miners were already at work. So that's reversing the rule that was in place during the Obama administration. Forget actually checking to make sure that things are safe. Just go to work, and while you're working, check to make sure it's safe. Yeah, that'll lead to a really safe environment.
I mean, but did people really think that Trump's bashing of regulations had anything to do with like workers' security? You know what I'm saying? Or working class people's security? You know what I'm saying? Like usually when people bash regulations, you know what they're talking about. They're talking about corporate profits.
No doubt. But see,
that's something that Republicans have always espoused. Like,
but
we need to get rid of these regulations.
But his voting base, like that was his way to, I guess, appeal to the common man. You know, because it was like, hey, all these regulations are really getting in the way of job growth, job creation, investment into the company. It's getting in the way of you having a better life overall. So we're going to get rid of all these burdensome regulations. But the regulations dealing with like safety standards, making sure that you are safe at work, no, we're going to leave those in place. But he was absolutely full of shit.
Mm-hmm. And kind of the way you do that is you kind of frame it differently. Because before... or for the most part, historically, they framed loosening of regulations towards, hey, these regulations are stopping these corporations from making a profit. Mm-hmm. But it kind of, I don't know, that's kind of losing its luster. So you kind of have to couch that argument like surrounding something else different, some other concept. And what the Deputy White House Press Secretary, Lindsey Walters, is framing this argument around is workers' freedom. That's what they're framing it around. The White House Deputy Secretary, Press Secretary, released a statement concerning the loosening of these regulations as far as worker safety. And it was in a written statement that said the administration is committed to protecting health and safety on the job while respecting the right of Americans to make their own decisions. Too often in the past, agencies issued regulations and constricted the freedom now, of American workers and small business owners to do work in the best way. So what does that sound like to you? They're saying that these regulations hinder the worker from doing the best job that they can and making the most money that they can. So regulations hinder the freedom of workers. So see, that's how they frame in the argument now.
That's completely illogical because, like, the only thing that makes sense to me, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? The only thing that makes sense to me is that, like, if you were to roll back like safety standards and regulations, if you were to like put them on hold, what you would do is take a chance that employees were going to get hurt. But what you would also do is ramp up productivity. You would ramp up productivity. And of course they want to ramp up productivity because they want more profit. They could care less about actual worker safety. They just want more profit.
See, yeah, it's like,
and if you loosen the regulations, then you can allow that to happen.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're saying like it's not our responsibility to protect you on a job and protect you in an environment where you're helping the company become profitable. Right. It's not our
about
job.
The worker.
The onus is on you, and you make the decision whether you want to work in this dangerous environment or not. It's like they're putting the onus on the worker and kind of like covering that up by saying, hey, now you have more freedom to make more money and to do the work better because see, you don't have these regulations holding you down from becoming a better employee.
But see, but like these workers, especially like in the mining industry, they already know the job is dangerous. But I think the overall goal would be to make it as safe as possible so that you are not dealing with loss, like you're not dealing with injuries. So to like peel back rules that ensure the safety of your own workers, that's not you being a man of the people. That's not you being the working class president, the jobs president. And it's not just within the mining industry as well. This is across the board. So this is from the same political article as well. At the Interior Department, administration officials are seeking to roll back regulations on offshore oil rigs. Former President Barack Obama's response to the 2010 Deepwater Horizon blowout that killed 11 workers and flooded the Gulf of Mexico with millions of barrels of oil. A proposed rule would rescind the requirement that only government-approved third parties may inspect blowout preventers that seal a well in the event of a pressure surge. That doesn't seem good to me. That we if anybody was paying attention to it, almost a decade ago now, about 8 years ago, it was a complete disaster. Why would you take a chance that would happen? Because you know that if it's not, the standards within the government are going to definitely be higher than on the private side.
It's about freedom, Will. It's about freedom. Without, like, with these regulations gone, that means we all have more freedom, including the worker. Don't you understand that? Think about this, y'all. Think about this. Like what do traffic control devices do? Not just the traffic control devices, but the theoretical concepts that we use from day to day when we're driving. So not just the traffic control devices like stop signs, stop lights, yield signs, railroad signs, railroad crossings, but the rules of the road. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like those regulations. Like what if I said and proposed that we get rid of all those things? We get rid of all those things. We get rid of railroad crossing signals. We get rid of the little arms that come down. We get rid of stop signs, yield signs.
Hey, you get rid of officers lights. Too.
Get rid of state troopers.
Yeah.
You know, catching
patrolling.
speeders.
Yeah. Patrolling. They can do other things.
No. You get rid of all those things. You know why? You know why we get rid of those things? So we can have more freedom on the road. You know how ridiculous I would sound or we would sound presenting some sort of process like that, some sort of process change like that.
Insane.
People would look at us like we're stupid. You see what I'm saying? Because like those concepts, rules of the road, these traffic control devices actually ensure that our agency is protected. Right. So we can move about freely.
But within all these regulations, injuries and deaths still occur. Wouldn't anybody reasonable think that if you pull all of that, it would lead to more carnage?
See, that's why I use that traffic control device as an analogy, because would it not result in more injuries? It would become a virtual demolition derby out there, would it not?
It would. But what would happen though? You failed to mention that. What would happen though is that
I know where
you would save money.
Who would save money though?
Well, the operators, you know, the whoever's controlling these business interests,
right?
They would be saving money because they wouldn't have to pay, spend money on all of these regulations, on traffic signs,
inspections.
Yeah, like there's a whole like a traffic operation. You know what I'm saying? Like that controls the lights and you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like
maintenance costs. Yeah,
workers. All of that cost would be completely alleviated.
The Department of Transportation saving mad money, but at what expense? So what are they sacrificing?
But see, that's something that the Trump administration or Trump is not actually stating to his people. He wants to make it seem like he actually cares about like their livelihood. But all he actually is caring about is the damn the greenbacks.
I'm gonna have to ban that word.
I knew you were gonna say something about that.
Man, it's been like months since you said that.
I get an opportunity.
Yeah. But I mean that's again. I mean it's par for the course. I mean this is what you get when you elect a businessman.
Exactly. You wanted a businessman. You got it.
A businessman who thrives in this political environment. Obviously, it's not just about Trump, but I'm just saying he is thriving in the political environment. He's not changing anything.
Right.
That's not what he planned to do.
That's what people thought he was going to do.
I don't know how though. That's the thing. I have no clue.
Because he talks different. That's it. He talks different. All right. I'm gonna leave that to that whole AJ.
Oh man, we're gonna say that for last.
Yeah, we're gonna say that
for last.
Yeah, let's go to Kaepernick. So Colin Kaepernick has made a comeback, really, in the eyes of, I guess, national media. Nike has used him, or has started reusing him in their ad campaign, and it started on Labor Day, and they used him in an ad for their 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. And just yesterday, they released another ad, and this was the video ad. It was about 2 minutes long. in which Colin Kaepernick is doing the audio, and it's for the Just Do It campaign. So it was really good. I liked it. I liked it, no doubt. But it's all about that. I guess what did the campaign say? His ad said, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." And that's what he said in the commercial.
Yeah, and pretty much if you kind of watch it and listen to the words, it's more about taking who you are to the next level,
right? And they're using sports to kind of convey that message,
like overcoming obstacles. Like they used a lot of disabled people.
They do
within the commercial, to kind of show that
just overcoming challenges.
That's basically what it's about. They were just using, I guess, the platform of sports, and athletic wear to kind of, highlight that issue, or that virtue, or whatever.
It featured like a Serena Williams, saying, black woman or a black girl coming from Compton, becoming the best.
They showed some kid wrestling. Only had like half a body.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it just, don't just try to be the best in your neighborhood or the best at your school or the best in your state. Just like try to be the best at the best at who's ever done it. I think the name of the campaign is Dream Crazy. So like I said, it was motivational, no doubt. But that's not actually what we're here to talk about. So what we're here to talk about is what happened on Monday with the I guess the unveiling of this new 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. So one day after Nike unveiled their new Just Do It campaign featuring Colin Kaepernick, the National Association of Police Organizations responded by writing a newsletter to its members calling on them to boycott Nike. So NAPO also wrote a letter to Nike's chairman and CEO, Mark Parker, and it read in part, and we have this for you right here, the inclusion... Let's see. Okay, yeah. The inclusion of... No, hold my bad. On behalf of the more than 241,000 law enforcement officers represented by our association across the country, I write to you to condemn in the strongest possible terms your selection of Colin Kaepernick for Nike's Just Do It ad campaign. Mr. Kaepernick is known not as a successful athlete, but as a shallow dilettante seeking to gain notoriety by disrespecting the flag for which so many Americans have fought and died. It continues... The inclusion of Mr. Kaepernick in Nike's Just Do It ad campaign also perpetuates the falsehood that police are racist and aiming to use force against African Americans and persons of color. In reality, officers across the nation risk their lives not only protecting the athletes featured in Nike's various campaigns, but also serve aspiring athletes across the country who use the Nike brand through the thousands of police athletic leagues, boys and girls clubs, and Big Brother, Big Sister programs where our officers donate their time and energy. They deserve to have the respect and full support of corporate citizens like Nike.
What does the flag have to do with police officers, number one? Because that's what they brought up. Once I got past that part, then my ears perked up because I was listening to everything after that, because I think that first part was to get people's ears and people's sympathy. Right. Oh, you're disrespecting the flag, you're disrespecting the troops. Yeah. When really the intent is really about them. The intent of the statement is about them. They just kind of use that as some sort of lead in to kind of get people in a more sympathetic mindset. Isn't the subject matter, the issue at hand that Colin Kaepernick has chosen to be a voice for, police brutality and police misconduct?
Yes, it is. You are correct.
So it's actions, it's activity, it's behavior. So he's against specific behavior that's carried out by law enforcement. So the prime focus is behavior, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not, we don't need cops.
No.
All cops are bad.
No, it's not.
Has Colin Kaepernick ever uttered anything suggesting that?
No, they have not. No, he has not. He, like I said, he has made himself very clear, and everybody else that has talking on this or spoke on this issue that have participated in the kneeling during the national anthem, they have said similar things. It is about the the unjust killings of Black Americans, the police brutality that goes along in this country that is pervasive, the disparity between Black people and white people that are killed by law enforcement. So, like I said, he's made himself very clear. But what this police organization felt the need to do was to distort what his message was and to make it about the flag, which so many people have done.
Why is it necessary to distort someone's message? Why is that necessary? Essentially, they're straw manning.
Yes.
Not just Colin Kaepernick. Because, see, this is not about Colin Kaepernick. I think that's what, we need to understand. So they're just using disdain for Colin Kaepernick, or expressing their disdain for Colin Kaepernick as, a way to express their disdain for the topic at hand. Because they're feeling some kind of way about it. And they don't like it. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? To me, the more responsible thing to do as far as law enforcement would be to be you know what? We understand Colin Kaepernick's position. We understand that there's a problem with some departments. We understand that there's a problem with our criminal justice system in various ways. And we want to work with Colin Kaepernick to weed out the very things that we don't want to represent. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, the only reason why they would feel some type of way about it is because there's some sort of self-consciousness that they possess about the issue. You see what I'm saying? Not to say that they're guilty of it, but maybe they have, I don't know, some sort of soft feelings for their fellow officers who are guilty of it. It's like that blue wall of silence. They love that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
What I didn't like was the last sentence that I read off. They deserved, speaking of officers in general, they deserve to have the respect and full support of corporate citizens like Nike. No, they don't. Just being an officer, you don't just command respect just because you're an officer. To get respect, you must give respect. And so what Colin Kaepernick is saying is not that he doesn't respect officers. He doesn't respect the officers that commit these crimes that are not, accounted for. He doesn't respect those actions, like you said, those behaviors. He doesn't respect that, and that's what he is being, that's what he is highlighting. So it's just funny, like I said, that he is this organization, this law enforcement organization, is speaking on behalf of all the officers across the United States and saying that Nike, by you affiliating yourself with this particular gentleman, we have to boycott all your products because we're going to distort the message of the person that you affiliate yourself with. It's absolutely crazy. But it wasn't just, I guess, this organization or this police organization that made a statement to Nike about Colin Kaepernick. There was another law enforcement organization that made a statement, and they sent a letter also to the chairman and CEO, Mark Parker. And this is from the National Black Police Association. So I have an excerpt from that letter as well. And they begin by saying that the National Police Association is not in agreement on this matter, and we strongly condemn the call for police officers and their families to continue or to boycott Nike and its products. So they continue by saying your inclusion of Mr. Kaepernick in your ads seems appropriate to us. We live in a country where the First Amendment is a right of the people. Mr. Kaepernick chose to exercise his right where his passion was, on the football field. NAPO believes that Mr. Kaepernick's choice to openly protest issues surrounding police brutality, racism, and social injustice in this country makes him anti-police. On the contrary, the NBPA believes that Mr. Kaepernick's stance is in direct alignment with what law enforcement stands for, the protection of people, their human rights, their dignity, their safety, and their rights as American citizens. So that was in stark contrast to the first letter. And no doubt, and it's very unsurprising that I'm in agreement with the last letter from the NBPA, because they got it right. They didn't distort Colin Kaepernick's message. They didn't distort his position. They actually correctly stated that it is about the unjust actions of the few police officers across this country that engage in police brutality, that engage in unjust killings of citizens. So when you call out bad behavior, surprise, surprise, you're not calling out everybody that, I guess, occupies that industry. Because there are some good apples and there are some bad apples, not just within law enforcement, but within the food industry, within healthcare, within
social work, social workers, everywhere. Everybody, every industry has its bad apples. And if you're talking about law enforcement, I think their bad apples tend to do a lot more damage because of the power that they have and the influence that they have. You know what I'm saying? And the authority that they have too.
They wear weapons of mass destruction on their hip.
On their hip, man.
And they're authorized to use it.
Now, like within that statement, they made a comment about free speech. That I kind of like, I want to throw that away, because to me it's not a matter of free speech, because even the officers have free speech to respond to Colin Kaepernick's free speech. I think it's more a matter of perspective. Right. You know what I'm saying? A couple years ago, I saw something on Twitter. I think it was. I don't know if it was Twitter or Facebook. It said something like, it kind of was talking against, or offering some sort of counterpoint to the perspective that, you're trying to keep police officers from doing their job when you talk about police brutality and bad behavior. You're trying to keep police from doing their job. And that first statement that you read from the association that was kind of condemning Colin Kaepernick kind of speaks to that. Like, hey, you're keeping us from doing our job. Well, if that's the case and the conversation is about police brutality and bad behavior, then you're saying that police brutality and bad behavior is your job. You know what I'm saying?
Like I said, no doubt I agree with the MBPA statement. And they closed it by saying, we will likely be buying and wearing a lot of Nikes in the near future. So they still, Nike still has, I guess, some officers that are supportive of them. And like I said, I don't, of course, this reads as a ringing endorsement of Nike. It's not like, I wear Nike. I got much Nike merchandise, gear. I got shoes, clothing, whatever. It's just been my choice of, I guess, an athletic brand. It's not a ringing endorsement. And we know that, going back years past, they have engaged in, some very bad actions that have, with the bad labor standards, pretty much, sweatshops and, paying slave labor and no doubt. Now, in years since they've cleaned up their actions, that negative stigma is still being attributed to them. And I don't think it should go away. I think people should know, because I guess the whole point in raising awareness to bad behavior by a multinational corporation is so that they clean up their actions. They weren't going to go away. They weren't going to disband and just close down Nike. So you want them to do the right thing. And I don't know if they have, improved 100%. I don't know if they've came all the way around. I've seen that they have made, some pivotal steps. But like I said, it's not a ringing endorsement of them. But on this, they're on the right side of history. On this. Now we can judge whether it's because they are truly woke or not, or maybe it is just a business decision. They're looking at the situation and like, hey,
they're looking at the long game.
Yeah. I think this is a good business move. So let's go all in on this. So whatever the case,
I think it's just like, you got to be careful on both ends, because then you have people who are like very hasty and they get triggered over one situation, right? And there's this one person that they despise, and a company decides to use that person as a face of their organization. All of a sudden, you flip out, and you want to project that same demonization onto that company,
right?
But I highly doubt that these same people that do that, have the same standards for every other company. You see what I'm saying? I highly doubt that, because there are Adidas has Adidas and another company. What's the other shoe company? Not
Under Armour?
Yeah, exactly. Under Armour and Adidas have teamed up with other people that have highlighted some of the same issues Colin Kaepernick has, like LeBron James and Jay-Z.
Right.
So again, like they just seem to pick and choose for the moment based on what the current outrage is. So it's like, I'm going to do this because, of what, because Colin Kaepernick or person A represents this, so I'm not going to buy their product. But I'm like, are you going through your other product that you buy, and checking off the list and make sure everybody who they endorse lives up to your moral standards? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure you can like go in your closet or, go in your kitchen or just even look at your vehicles, whatever you buy as a consumer, and go down the list of everyone that they have used to sponsor their product and to endorse their product. I'm pretty sure you would find somebody on that list that's objectionable to you. So it was like getting caught up in that is like a rabbit hole. You see what I'm saying? So on both ends, like I'm not going to sit there and buy Nike because like I agree with one decision or a few political decisions they made. I'm going to buy that product because I like their product. And I think that's what you were saying. Yeah. Like you ain't buying, you out here about to go buy a whole Nike wardrobe because of this.
Yeah, they made one decision like, oh yeah, let me get some Nike.
And see, that's kind of what I'm against, because we still kind of have to consider that they're a corporation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I see people out here, I'm about to go buy a whole Nike outfit. I'm like,
I will say though that within the announcement that Colin Kaepernick is in this new Just Do It campaign, and that he has agreed to a new multi-year agreement with Nike, and that includes an apparel deal. Like he's gonna have his own apparel line. Now that may cause some people to be like, hold up, I am gonna get some Kaepernick gear, and I have no problem with that, because that would be to, I guess, be in support of Colin Kaepernick and his message, and to actually, I guess, increase the reach for that message as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Okay. Because they did kind of have to consider that that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Because you can't like use someone like that, to be the face and not expect that message is going to attach itself to you.
Right.
Krista Lynn, I respectfully disagree. I think your priorities are a bit off. I think that it's more important for people to respect human life than a flag or a song. So we can, go on and on about Colin Kaepernick disrespecting the whole country. I'm a part of that country, and many people who were polled said that they were okay with Colin Kaepernick and the way he protested. So I don't really think that you should speak for everybody, Krista. And actually a lot of people in the nation have spoken and said they don't feel disrespected. Now, if you feel that way, that's fine. And I'm cool with that, but you're not the whole country. And like I said before, my priority is how people are regarded and how people are respected, and not a song and not a flag. I think that is more important.
And and it's important to note too that obviously it's not all police officers that agree with the NAPO, like the NAPO, I guess, mentality, where they believe that this is offensive and this is like anti-police, anti-America, blah, blah, blah. So there are police officers that are with Colin Kaepernick's stance. Not only are there police officers that are with Colin Kaepernick's stance, there are veterans that are with Colin Kaepernick's stance as well. And the whole reason that Colin Kaepernick started kneeling in the first place is because of a veteran, Nate Boyer, that actually talked to him about Colin Kaepernick sitting on the bench, and he felt that was disrespectful.
Rewind. I think you need to repeat that.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be repeated, man.
Nate Boyer. Because this all started with Colin Kaepernick sitting on the bench during the playing of the national anthem. But Nate Boyer, a former military officer, military.
Green Beret.
Yeah, he was Green Beret. Yeah, he was officer. He came to Colin Kaepernick. He had a conversation with him. And Colin Kaepernick, due to that conversation, he felt like he didn't want to be disrespectful to veterans, to people that have actually served in the military for this country. So he actually started to take a knee. And the knee is actually a respectable kind of gesture. It always has been. So that's what he decided to do because of a former veteran. So the whole this whole narrative that what Colin Kaepernick is doing is anti-American or anti-police or anti-military, anti-flag, national anthem even. It's totally baloney. And anybody that engages in that type of conversation, you are shifting the narrative. And whether you're doing that purposely or not, the truth remains the same, that you're shifting the narrative and you're not dealing with the actual truth.
The reason why I asked you to repeat that is because people who are the most opposed to Colin Kaepernick, even though the mug is out the league, he ain't kneeling no more. That's the thing about it. He's not hurting your feelings anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like, I always want to be like, can you show me where Colin Kaepernick hurts you? Like, please show me.
Like Hillary Boo Boo?
Yeah, Hillary Boo Boo. Like, he is no longer in the league. So I don't understand it. So now you are still like holding on to this thing he did a year and a half ago. Like, he is no longer in the league, so he is no longer practicing this disrespectful action. You see what I'm saying? So he's no longer hurting you, but I guess he inspired a lot of other players to do it. So it's like,
he started it.
He started
it. You can't let him off the hook.
But again, I think it's important, to mention Nate Boyer, because people intentionally leave him out, because like he was at the beginning of all this.
The very beginning.
Matter of fact, not only was he at the beginning, and because he's the one who penned that letter, that open letter. Right. It's still available. You can go read that open letter to Colin Kaepernick. It was very respectful.
Yes.
And like you said, he suggested the kneeling. Not only did he suggest the kneeling, he went out on the field with Colin Kaepernick. Now, he said, I am not going to kneel, but I'll be with you because this is your movement.
Right.
There is actually pictures out there showing Nate Boyer with his hand on Colin Kaepernick's shoulder in support. But people seem to conveniently leave that part out.
But see, like this whole, I guess, like the emotions that some of these police officers are feeling, this is nothing new. They feel very, I guess, attacked. They feel disrespected. They feel all hurt and all up in their emotions, right? And like I said, this is nothing new. It was just a few weeks ago that we noted that the Broward County Police Benevolent Association, they called on their members to request a refund to Miami Dolphins games because there were 2 Miami Dolphins players that kneeled during a preseason game just a few weeks ago. There were only 2 of them, not the whole team. But this association, they entered into this discount program with the Miami Dolphins with the expectation that the team would force its players to stand during the national anthem and respect police officers. But they didn't do that. They were 2 players that were kneeling, so they felt, like I said, all up in their emotions, and they were calling on police officers within their organization and in organizations in neighboring counties to request a refund and not participate in the discount program. If we want to go back even further, going back to, I think this was in July 2016, I believe so, but you remember the story about the Minnesota Lynx?
Oh, yeah, when the shirts?
With the shirts.
They had the shirts.
With the shirts. So they wore shirts. The Minnesota Lynx wore shirts where it said Black Lives Matter. It actually had a symbol of, I believe, like one of the precincts or something like that, or maybe one of the associations of, a law enforcement association had one of those symbols on it. It had like Alton Sterling's name on it. It had
Eric Garner. Did it have
not Eric Garner, but
what was the other? Did it have not Sandra Bland?
No. It had
Trayvon.
No, it's in my head.
Cleveland,
Minnesota. It was in Minnesota, I believe. Oh my gosh, man! It's right there, but I can't think of it. I can't think of it, man. It's killing me right now. But anyway, it had a lot of different names on it, and it was very uncontroversial because it wasn't just it wasn't like a message of Castile. Philando Castile, yeah. But yeah, it didn't have. It wasn't just a message of like we hate police officers. It was a shirt that was like, hey, we're supportive of Black Lives Matter. Like, we want to call attention to Alton Sterling and Philando Castile, and we want to support our police organizations as well.
Specific deaths too.
Yes.
Specific deaths.
Yes.
So what should that tell you?
That it wasn't about an anti-police message, but there were 4 police officers that were off duty working security at the game who, when these players, the Minnesota Lynx players, were wearing these shirts pre-game, they saw this and they left their posts, left the building. They were working security and abandoned their responsibility because they felt personally attacked.
Think about that, though. Think about they felt some kind of way. Their feelings were hurt about specific people. So instead of maybe addressing those specific people and ironing out whatever they needed to iron out, they abandoned their responsibility to
everybody, because they're there to provide security for everybody that's there in that arena,
and they have nothing to do with those players want to advocate for. Those people have nothing to do with that. These police officers were willing to forego their responsibility as security and as officers of the law and affect everyone in a tantrum, if you will, because they disagree with those people. So guess what? We don't care about none of y'all.
Exactly, because you in here too. Sorry, we can't serve you because of these specific players that are not actually disrespecting us, but we're gonna believe that is disrespect. And then after the fact, the president of a police union said later that if the players didn't change their tune, that it was possible that all police officers would not show up and actually work security for the team, for the arena.
Security is not just about them.
Nah, it's
I almost had a Bon Qui moment on security, but no, security is not just about them. It's about the people that come to that arena.
Yeah,
but they're so narrow-minded that they couldn't see that.
And if you actually, and we made a video about that last year. This was 2016.
Yeah, that was...
My bad. This was 2 years ago, 2016. I believe it was in July. And we made a video about that, and we did show the shirts, and it was front and back. It had certain names, certain images, on the shirt. And if you see those shirts, again, uncontroversial. It wasn't attacking anybody. It was just like, yo, we definitely want to highlight some things, get y'all to think. We want to bring awareness to some issues, man. We got to do something in this country, and we have a platform, so we're going to use that. And these officers were all up in their feelings, man. But anyway, it's good to see not all officers are signing on to that distortion of the message.
It's got to tell you something. If there are officers that are not distorting Colin Kaepernick's message or just the message in general, that should kind of cause people to ask the question, why are these set of officers doing that?
Why are they, right? All right. Let's see. Let's go to Pelosi. Yeah. All right. So it's no secret that House Minority Leader Representative Nancy Pelosi is seeking to regain her leadership in the House of Representatives should the Democratic Party come away victorious in November and come away with leadership, flip the House. So we are completely opposed to that idea, but that's totally a different topic. Recently, Pelosi has stated that she'd intend on reinstituting the pay-go or the pay-as-you-go rule that she had when she was the majority leader. So the rule requires that any new spending be paid for by cuts or by offsets. So why this would be a problem is because, well, if you go back to President Obama's term as president, like Obamacare, it's always been definitely by Republicans. They always kind of try to frame his presidency as, reckless spender. He's just spending all this money recklessly and blah 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 blah. Right?
Not being able to pay for it.
Yeah, not being responsible. But Obamacare was actually paid for. And Obama, former President Obama, he was actually one of he was supportive of this kind of rule too, pay as you go, pay for your stuff, right? Before, don't leave it on future generations and stuff like that. We want to pay as you go. The problem with that is that seems to only be a Democratic rule and not a Republican rule. On its face, it seems like that might be the way to go. Don't kill the deficit, don't kill the debt, you know what I'm saying? Actually pay for stuff as you go. Don't leave, don't rack up all this debt and stuff like that. That'd be just irresponsible. That's reckless. But the Republicans don't do that. And case in point, just months ago, this is over 6 months ago, late December, well, it was in December, I believe, last year, they passed the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which adds trillions to the debt. Now, they were able to do that. They were able to forego this rule because actually they changed it to like a cut go. It was like a cut go because they wanted to employ like tax cuts in the way of implementing like spending programs or like cut different programs that are taking, that are using up funds.
Yeah, because you have to do one or two things.
Yes.
You have to cut programs or increase taxes.
You have to do one of the two.
And they were not going to raise taxes on the wealthy.
No. But see, Democrats, or let me say like progressives. So of course progressives want to implement different types of programs. Case in point, universal health care, Medicare for all, single payer. Now, of course, that's going to take a lot of money, and it's not going to just be, bam, it's paid for. So, one, you would have to probably raise taxes a little bit, but in the end, it would pay for itself, and it would actually, save us money in the long haul.
Save us money and it save people money.
Yes.
And if you're saving people money, that means they have more money to put into the economy elsewhere.
Oh my gosh, you just laid that out beautifully. But under Nancy Pelosi's rule of pay as you go, that wouldn't be able to happen.
Why is she doing this though? Like what? But what's the motive behind her doing this? You ain't let people in on that yet. What's the motive behind her doing this? So just, you know what I'm saying?
Well, my personal opinion is that is to shut down any type of real progress, any type of real like programs that would actually benefit,
that are being pushed by who?
Well, I can name a few names.
I mean, I don't want to say who specifically, but what conglomerate of people?
Well, you would call them progressives.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. You said, you hear this kind of rhetoric in terms of Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, those types of people. They kind of push these progressive programs that they want to see for the United States of America. But again, it wouldn't be able to happen under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi because, one, you'd have to pay for it, and then two, the only way you could get it done is to raise taxes if you did want to pay for it, and she wouldn't be supportive of that, and Republicans wouldn't be supportive of that.
And not only that is she sees the tide shifting, and she doesn't want to be put in that position.
No, because if she was actually in leadership, would she actually bring that to the floor?
Oh hell no! It would be pointless because you already know where she would stand.
Exactly.
You already know where she would stand. Like I said, she sees the tide shifting, and she's trying to do whatever she can to kind of scare progressives off. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, y'all getting a little too frisky here. Let me put something out there to show you that y'all ain't gonna get shit if I'm still up in here. You know what I'm saying? She's behaving like...
That's what she's actually saying.
She's behaving like a cranky, entitled corporatist right now. She'd rather lose to Republicans than concede anything to progressives.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's really all I could say about why she's doing this, because they don't care. And I don't think, crushing progressives will hurt her personally. It's not going to affect her personal life. It's not going to impact her because she's number 30th on the list of richest members of Congress. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So she has nothing to lose.
And politically, it may not hurt her as well, because as of right now, I noted before that we are seeing some more progressive wins across the United States of America, but by and large, this is a centrist party, the Democratic Party. And so for her, I guess immediately, would this cause her to lose any political capital? Would it cause her to lose her position as a representative?
No, because she would keep getting donations. She would keep getting corporate money rules all. She would keep getting donations. And just like most representatives, their wealth comes from sources outside their congressional salary, mm-hmm. From investments or things that are investments that are tied to their spouse.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so obviously they're conflicted. So they actually have a conflict of interest. So why would they do anything to affect their own investments?
They only want to look like they're progressive. They don't actually want to do things that are progressive.
You think that like if Nancy Pelosi, I guess, was in a similar economic situation like most Americans, her positions and her political strategy might be a little bit different because they already make like it's like $174,000 or maybe I think she makes more because she's her position. Mm-hmm. So it might be like $10,000, $15,000 more. I can't remember, but like added into that, like I think her net worth is like it's dropped significantly over the last 10 years, but it's still at like $16-17 million. $17 million.
So what would she be worried about, right?
What would she be
politically or
about?
financially?
Or financially, like in her own personal life.
Again, we see this all the time, man. When it comes to like things that liberals want, we can't pay for it. When it comes to things that conservatives want, they will move buildings. I mean, they will move anything that's in their way to get the job done. Case in point, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. They have always been preaching this fiscal responsibility, but that went by the wayside when it came to doing the most for corporations and the wealthy. So it's kind of funny to me when like the common narrative is that Democrats or liberals, progressives, they're the ones that want to give you free shit. They just want to like just give everybody free, right? But it's the Republicans that are like, we don't care how much this stuff costs. We're gonna continuously do what's best for big corporations. We're gonna give them everything.
It's like that's where the problem, like with the I guess the two-party system comes in, because if you're talking about progressives, like their main avenue of power is through the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it looks as if the Democratic Party is willing to set limits on how much access these progressives can get.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And even with progressives getting their foot in the door, by nature of how Democrats operate, if their foot is in the door, but there's a knife in their back. You know what I'm saying? Just by way the Democratic Party operates, not necessarily anything like obvious. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be obvious hostility, which we have actually pointed out, which there has been, just by nature of how they operate. It's an automatic knife in the back, no matter how much access they give to progressives. And right now they're not budging, It's weird because we're in a weird spot right now where it sounds good, and we've heard this from people. The Democratic Party needs to go away. The Democratic Party needs to collapse. Doesn't that sound great? But don't we have another party we have to worry about too?
Exactly. You would just be giving more power to that other party.
Exactly. It's like at the cost of the GOP taking over. Like, nah.
Not with that. No. Not with that at all. So really what needs to be done here is that if and when the Democratic Party does recapture the House, recapture the leadership in the House, Nancy Pelosi cannot return as House Majority Leader. She just can't. And there is some significant opposition to, I guess, her candidacy of, reclaiming that leadership position. So I don't know if it's enough, but, in a few months, we'll see if she even will get a chance. So we just saw from Moose Gal that, according to the New York Times, Tom Carper won his re-election bid for Senate in Vermont. So that is extremely disappointing. Harris is she didn't get the national attention that somebody like Ocasio-Cortez got, Gillum even. I heard about her, but it just wasn't on the same scale. So that's definitely disappointing. I was hoping that maybe in the state of Vermont, her message was carrying across way better than it was across the United States of America. But we'll get into that after the show and see what the vote count was and everything. All right, let's go to AJ, man.
You gonna do that now?
Yeah,
we go to AJ, bro. Yeah, we go to AJ.
So, Twitter has permanently banned Alex Jones and InfoWars from their platform.
Finally they enforce their terms of service.
Yes,
finally.
Yes. In a tweet, Twitter safety team said, quote, "We took this action based on new reports of tweets and videos posted yesterday that violate our abusive behavior policy, in addition to the account's past violations." So prior to this, he had been suspended for, I believe, 7 days. But again, the previous day's actions, some videos that he had posted onto Twitter, I guess it caused them to make this decision. So the actual substance of what I guess caused them to move, it happened at the Capitol building where Alex Jones was spending for the large part of, I believe this was on Tuesday. Or it might have been yesterday. Actually, yeah, I believe it was yesterday, on Wednesday. So in a video, he was berating CNN's Oliver Darcy and saying that he had the eyes of a rat. He also said that he was, quote, the equivalent of like the Hitler Youth. So I thought initially, because I didn't see that part, I thought initially that he might have been just saying this in one of his videos. And at that point, I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. But then it became clear to me that he was actually saying it to Oliver Darcy. So I was like, okay, that's a little bit different. But look, we know that it wasn't just this one instance. We understand that. Like nobody's like being fooled into believing like, oh, he made this one mistake and Twitter like just instantly ousted him. Yeah, he has a long track record.
He has a long track record, and they've just been a little reluctant.
Oh yes, they have
to enforce their terms of service because he has such a following.
Yeah.
Like
I think he had like 1.5 million.
The whole Alex Jones saga surrounds kind of the same preference and the same privilege that I guess big corporations typically have, that people rail against all the time. Like, how come they're getting preferential treatment? That's what Alex Jones was getting because he is a corporation. The funny part about it is, it's like, it's interesting how people somehow don't see him that way. He is a huge corporation, but somehow people treat him like he's some sort of like grassroots voice, and he's not. He is a huge corporation, and he was given a pass and privilege because he had high visibility and a high number of followers. So they let him slide. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? While other people were getting banned for the same thing. I just find it funny that kind of people were not standing up for those smaller people when it was happening, and all of a sudden when Twitter enforces, or any other social media platform enforces their rules to somebody who they were extending privilege to, like people, get their panties in a bunch.
There's this big outcry because of Alex Jones, but you're saying it was not the same case with smaller individuals, smaller platforms. Yeah. Even with not with just the platform, like with the guy, the cartoonist from the Pittsburgh Gazette. Remember that dude? Right.
He made a cartoon. He made a cartoon. And the Pittsburgh Gazette fired him. Trump had something to say. People in his administration had something to say, and they fired him. I don't remember this amount of outcry for this one dude who didn't say anything to anybody, as far as like he wasn't antagonizing people, he wasn't harassing people, he wasn't issuing death threats. It was a fucking cartoon, and they fired him.
And it should have, and it had all the ingredients of being a public outcry because it was reported on.
Yeah,
it was national news.
Yeah.
So it could have been a national issue, but it wasn't for some reason. But Alex Jones is a national issue. Like, we got to support Alex. Man, forget Alex Jones, man. But anyway, so again, he spent a large segment of the day in the Capitol building. Now, there's this one incident that happened in which he was talking to Marco Rubio. And this is pure comedy for me. I think this is like my favorite video of the year.
Yo, wait a second. Even over Bonnie and Clyde in the convenience store?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man.
Over Bonnie and Clyde in the convenience store.
I'll say this is my favorite political video. Dude.
Okay.
I'll qualify it.
Clarify. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because this is funny. So if you have not seen it, they did have some verbal altercation in the hallways of the Capitol building. So if you haven't seen it, we're going to play it for you.
Should I have a First Amendment, or should these companies be able to violate the whole Safe Harbor Act and all that, and then ban conservatives en masse?
Yeah, I don't know anything about your site, man.
No, but about the First Amendment.
Yeah, I support the First Amendment. I just ask questions about it.
I know you were the only one that brought up China. Are
Guys,
you aware? Are you aware of the deplatforming going on?
In China?
No, here, big tech companies are purging conservatives. They're shadow banning people en masse.
Yeah, well, my broader concern is that what we are trying to do in terms of preventing foreign interference in our elections, that technology could be used by authoritarian governments to argue, we want you to do the same thing against people that are in our country operating. For example, for them, misinformation would be something like the truth. For them, sowing instability would be supporting democracy and free speech.
But the Democrats are doing what you said China does.
That you got from Sheryl Sandberg and Jack Dorsey on that question.
I think Facebook now I think it's important for them not to comply with any efforts to sort of go after freedom of expression.
What about the Democrats purging conservatives?
She's
not answering him. Just the Republicans are acting like it isn't happening. Thank God Trump is.
Well, but
it's weird, man.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. There's no purge of conservatives.
I don't know.
There's no shadow banning
are you
of members of
about
Congress.
bias in social media?
Yeah, who's this guy? We
Are you
deplatformed him.
concerned about bias in social media?
Well, I think the bigger bias is against freedom of expression. Everybody should be. There's a look. I support going after.
It's happening here, but you say I don't exist.
Is that a heckler or a press gaggle?
Look at this guy. He's saying that I don't exist, and they're deplatforming.
I just don't know who you are, man. I don't read your websites.
Sure, and they demonize me in these very hearings, and then he plays dumb.
Here's the question.
Infowars.com.
Do you think that does Google, does Facebook, does Twitter, do they need to be regulated like do they need to be regulated?
Marco Rubio the snake. Little frat boy here.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, who are you, man?
Yeah,
Who's
sure.
This guy? I swear to God, I don't
you
know
better
who
hope
you
you
are,
can
man.
deplatform me. Tens of millions of views.
Infowars.
Bigger than Rush Limbaugh. He knows who Infowars is.
But
Playing this joke over here. That's why the deplatforming didn't work.
But here's the question. Here's a question.
Wait, don't touch me again, man. I'm asking you not to touch me.
Well, sure, I'll just pat you nicely.
I know, but I don't want to be. I don't know
you
you,
want me to
man.
get
I don't know
arrested?
who you are.
It's not just going
You're
to
not
take
going
my
to get
First
arrested,
Amendment.
man. You're not going to get arrested. I'll take care of it myself.
Oh, he'll beat me up.
I didn't say
He
that.
didn't know I
either.
am, but he's
I'm
so
just saying.
mad. You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence America.
But there are people.
You are literally like a little gangster thug.
Yo, dude. Yo, this
I
tell
can't
you
get
what,
enough of that
I
video.
know,
Man.
I don't like Marco Rubio.
I can't get
I don't
enough
like
of it.
Marco Rubio, but for the short amount of time that video lasted,
Oh, he was
I liked
likable.
him.
He was likable.
He was likable.
in
That
little
short
clip.
2-minute
clip. Video.
Because your boy was being like low key condescending and low key like kind of answering them questions snarkily.
Yeah. Who is this guy?
Who is this guy?
Swear to God, I don't know who you are.
He said something about like, who is China shutting you down?
Yo,
Like,
it's just
I'm sorry,
hilarious.
like
Hilarious, man.
Like, Alex Jones need to step up his troll game, man, because it's like he's doing that whole typical, like he's being the antagonist, but then he's playing like he's the victim when somebody is defending themselves. Like he is inserting himself into Marco Rubio's space and interrupting, and he's making like Marco Rubio is the unreasonable one. Like again. And like the mug was looking like a lost little boy because Marco Rubio was just still trying to maintain his attention to his primary focus, which was the cameras and the reporters, which he was doing a good job of while throwing shade at the same time. Right. And you can tell Alex Jones was being frustrated. Like I said, he needs to upgrade his trolling. He could have walked up to Marco Rubio with a glass of water and be like, hey, you look thirsty, Marco. Are you thirsty?
That would have been quality trolling.
That would have been quality trolling because that's a reference to his the State of the Union response when he's just like, you reached over and took a glass of water. Or you can do the classic, like not calling somebody by their name. He could have called them like Margot or like Marcy or Marco Polo or something like fuck with him a little bit. But he was just doing that.
See, do I believe that Marco Rubio doesn't know who he is? I don't believe that. I believe Marco Rubio was just messing with him. He's like, who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is. I swear, I don't know who you are, man. And he had to consistently say, InfoWars, you know who we are.
See, he was like
millions of views, man. You know who we are.
See, right there, you knew he
Now,
got.
you're getting punked.
He got punked and it was getting under his skin, and then he tried to project like that feeling of indignancy onto Marco Rubio as if it's Marco Rubio's the one who's getting mad. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
I was like,
I see all the rage in your face.
I can clearly see you are juiced up right now. It's not Marco Rubio.
But everything that he was saying was pretty much irrational, though, because he started out by saying, like, because Rubio went into China, what China's doing, and Alex Jones talks about Dems are doing what you said China is doing or was doing, and then he says that Dems are purging conservatives. But then at the very end, when they have like that sort of physical altercation, which I think Rubio was a fake tough guy, really, because his security personnel that was behind him, whoever was guarding him, he got Alex Jones' hands off of him. And it was a few seconds after that, I think Rubio, seeing that, was like, you know what, I'm gonna play tough now. Yo, don't touch me again.
Don't touch me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He got, it's like his boys gave him a little gas.
Exactly.
And that's when like Alex Jones was like, oh, so he's gonna hit me?
Yeah.
I wish Marco Rubio was like, you know what? Hell yeah, I'm gonna hit you. Like, at that point, it would have been okay to say that.
Yeah. But anyway, like I said, the whole narrative that, like, Dems are purging conservatives, okay? But then after that, like I said, after the altercation or whatever, like, with the hand on the shoulder, Alex Jones says to Rubio, you're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence America. Rubio is a Republican. What are you talking about, Alex Jones? Now, you just said that it was Dems that was purging conservatives and it was silencing conservatives, and now you're saying that Rubio is going to be silencing you?
That's that. I'm saying.
What is you talking about?
Again, he is too far down the rabbit hole because he's got paranoid delusions now. So basically, if Rubio doesn't co-sign anything Alex Jones says, that must mean he's in on it too.
He's part of this whole agenda.
Exactly. As soon as, since he's not co-signing with me on anything, that must mean he's a part of it. That's what that's about, because he has those paranoid delusions, man.
But okay, but like just diving into more about the Dems are purging conservatives. So to say a statement like that, you would have to, I guess, allege that the DNC, or let me say it another way, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all of these platforms, all of these individual organizations, these separate organizations, separate corporations, are actually arms of the DNC, and they are making these platforms purge conservatives. Because you said it was Dems that was purging conservatives. Last I saw, they weren't political operations.
See, that's where the conversation I think we were having last show comes in, where it's not just a conspiracy theory, it's the undisciplined conspiracy theory that still maintains this kind of partisan mentality. You see what I'm saying? Like, all of his conspiracy theories and all the evil people always lead back to one place. So therefore, you have to distort or recreate these platforms to be your enemy. And what better way to do that to just connect them to the DNC? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So you have to recreate that in order for like your theory to work. So you kind of alter everything, you reshape everything to fit like your pre-established narrative or your pre-established conspiracy theory. But I don't know, boy. He looked like he wanted to fight Marco Rubio.
He did look like that.
I'm all juiced up on super male vitality. My chest hairs are standing up.
You know who I am.
My chest hairs are standing up. I'm ready to take you down, little Marco.
Oh, I love that video, man. And then at the end, he was like,
I got a special.
You really are a little thug, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or a little something.
Little something, yeah. That's what he likes to do, call people little
gangster thug, I think.
I got a special formulation of super male vitality, especially formulated to take down globalist scum like you, little Marco.
Favorite political video of the year, man. Straight up, man. That made me laugh.
You see what he did, right? You see how he like, you're silencing me, you're silencing America.
I am like, America.
You see that? You see that that elevated
the ego,
self-worth.
Man. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like he's like into this whole like the battle for the souls of patriots.
Like the people all behind me.
Yeah, the battle for the soul of patriots begins here with me.
Infowars.
Infowars. I'm like, bruh, like, it's like,
yes.
I don't know, man. And actually, like, with,
Dude's a joke, man.
with most of these situations, I'm actually disappointed in Alex Jones, because have you ever like watched his show or watched clips of his show?
A little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Because like when he gets all angry and stuff, like behind his podium, and he's like slamming his fist on his desk, he's like grabbing the mic, he's like turning red, he's yelling at everything, he's just talking about how he's gonna to crush the shape-shifting reptilian demon spawn into dust. But then when these situations come up and he's in these situations, he's very passive aggressive.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
He's a funny guy. I usually don't, I usually don't have purpose to actually laugh at him. I usually just nod my head and like, it's like, dude, it's ridiculous. But this actually gave me a reason to laugh.
Oh no!
So I appreciate that.
I think it's much funnier when he is able to engage with actual human beings instead of being behind.
Because he was thrown off his game. He was thrown off his game this time.
He was thrown,
and he always seeks to do that to somebody else.
Somebody else. Again, because Marco Rubio is in a controlled environment and trying to maintain focus, and then Alex is trying to play antagonist, hoping to throw him off. Marco Rubio stays cool, doesn't need a glass of water like he did in that State of the Union rebuttal, and he got Alex Jones to kind of lose his cool. I'm like, bruh, like, that joke was mad funny.
That was not a good look for Alex Jones, man. Not a good look, man. So you know what? I think we're gonna leave off with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, man.
Oh Lord.
Ted Cruz. Of course, he's seeking re-election this year for the Senate in Texas, and he's facing a pretty stiff challenge by Representative Beto O'Rourke. And this is pretty surprising because this is Texas, which is very red, deep red, and to be facing a challenge from a Democratic opponent like this, and this is an incumbent senator. I mean, this is pretty notable.
The lead that he did have has drastically dwindled.
Yeah, it's like a toss-up right now.
Like the last poll I saw had Cruz only leading by like 4 points, 3 or 4.
I saw one that he was leading by 1.
Oh gosh, damn. Yeah, the one I remember was probably from a couple months ago. So it probably is. The gap is probably closing.
So yeah, no doubt Cruz is feeling the heat. The way that he is choosing to attack Beto O'Rourke, though, is lame. It's very lame. Very, very lame. So he's made a series of ads. This one that we're going to show you, let's just
yeah, I know, man.
It's just sad,
it's
man.
sad.
It's just sad. All right, where's this thing at? All right, here we go.
Beto O'Rourke wants to be a senator. So he's showing up across Texas, sharing his wit.
How up is that?
His wisdom.
What the are these guys doing?
And his character.
I really up.
If Beto shows up in your town, maybe keep the kids at home.
Because this is up.
Beto O'Rourke. He's showing the up.
Bravo. The production quality of that ad was phenomenal. Like, I lost count of how mmany issues were brought up in that campaign. I didn't know. I don't know where to start. Will they could, like, the Cruz campaign covered so much of substance in that campaign commercial.
Yeah,
I don't know
to
where to
point
start.
out like how much better he is.
How
as
much
a
better
candidate.
he is than O'Rourke. Like, I don't know where to start. It was so well done. I don't know how to combat it or offer some sort of counter narrative because everything that was said in there was just so on point and true.
It's so succinct. I mean, he got all that in 30 seconds.
All that and that's why I'm just so dumbfounded. And right now I can't say a word and I feel owned. Of all the bad stuff I said about Ted Cruz, he used that 30 seconds to just shut me up, and he just feels like I've been shut down because he just dealt with those issues in a very concise way, man. I don't know. You got the same thing? You got the same thing?
No. Was anybody offended by the word choice of Beto O'Rourke? Was anybody offended? Because I wasn't offended. And so this has gotten a lot of backlash, a lot of mocking on social media because we're talking about Texas. We're talking about Texas, right? So people that are from Texas are actually responding and being like, so you're telling me there's a politician that, because there have been other points where he has noted that, you know, I think he has like a criminal past, not like a serious criminal past, but he's been arrested before.
It was a DUI.
It was a DUI when he, like, years ago.
30 years ago or
yeah,
something.
it was a long time ago. So he's noted that. He's noted that he's in a band.
Oh my God! you see, no, that's about, that's about, like, he's in a band,
Yeah.
so he gonna steal your girl. That's what that's about.
But yeah, and then now he's pointing out that, oh, he uses bad language from time to time. So hey, don't bring the kids if you're gonna go see Beto O'Rourke.
Didn't he, like, months ago, a political ad, like, earlier in the year, he said something about, oh, he's just trying to, like, appeal to Hispanic voters by calling himself Beto, even though he's been called Beto his entire life. And there's actually a family photo of him before he can even talk, where he has a sweater on that says Beto.
Right there, yeah. His tactics. See, he's a lame person. So, of course, when he chooses to attack his opponent, he's going to do it in a very lame way.
He's going to do it in a lame way.
It's so horrible, man.
He says fuck. Look at him. Look at him. He says fuck.
He's Texas.
He's not good for Texas. He's not good for Texas as far as policy, as far as, like, what he can offer you, as far as, I guess, appeal to your sense of livelihood and ensure that all Texans have an equal chance at success. All that doesn't matter. What really does matter is the fact that he says fuck.
I want to ask you a question because, see, look, this is obviously a huge issue. So, because he spent actual capital to construct this video and put it out there.
So he really,
Texas, right?
so he really, that's something he really cares about,
yes.
And not necessarily just in this political battle, this political campaign.
It's like how you present yourself, that you're not, I guess, being objectionable in your language and things like that. Tell me, who does? Is there a president right now that Ted Cruz supports?
There's only one president. It's like one president.
There's only one president. That's right, because we're not in an election year. Like, there's a current president. So hold up. Since there's only one president, his name is Trump. Are you telling me that Ted Cruz supports Trump?
Yes, he does. He supports Trump as the party nominee because he got waxed. He got waxed.
Good choice of
like
words.
I'm telling you, he got like Karate Kid waxed on and waxed off.
So all the things that Trump has said, Ted Cruz don't say nothing. Ted Cruz don't say nothing.
So what are you saying? This seems like it's just like a bunch of nothing, a big bowl of nothing.
Yeah, big bag of nothing. Yeah, big bag of. Donald Trump has suggested that his wife is ugly on Twitter. Remember that side-to-side image of his wife and Donald Trump's wife and Ted Cruz's wife? Remember that? He has accused his father of murder.
Of murder. Yes.
Same guy that Ted Cruz respects now, I guess, and supports. But Beto O'Rourke is doing way too much.
Beto O'Rourke is a bridge too far.
Way too far.
That's a bridge too far. And like, it would have made more sense. It still wouldn't have made sense. But if I'm going to like extend some sort of credence at all, it would have made more sense like if the clips that they did show had children in them.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? It would have made a little more sense.
Oh gosh.
They didn't have any kids.
Oh, I didn't see any
kids. So because again, like, it ended with like, you wouldn't want your kids coming over to a barbecue or something, something like that.
Or
going it was Labor Day, because it wasn't with Labor Day.
Yeah.
Because on this Labor Day weekend, you might want to keep your kids away. You know what I'm saying? From a barbecue. I'm like, again, it would have made more sense if there was actually kids in those clips.
And it's like he's like, every other word is an epithet.
They had to find like 10 damn clips when he said it one time in each clip. It's not like he's like cursing like a pirate.
Yeah. so lame.
It's like, man, it's so lame. But see, again, Cruz is lame, so he thinks that shit is tight.
So he's like, and when this was constructed, he was like, finished product.
And he probably did it like that. Oh my gosh, that's excellent. That's excellent.
You know what makes it funny too? You remember months ago, his Twitter account had that
some porn video.
Yeah, some porn video.
Yeah.
And he was like, wasn't me. It
was somebody in my office.
It was somebody that had access to my account. Hey, we're not gonna out the gentleman because look, it's embarrassing enough. It's not gonna happen again. Blah blah blah. It wasn't me though. It wasn't me.
Yeah, and he pretty much like
late at night. His personal account.
He got thrown under the porn bus. Got thrown straight under the porn bus.
Ted Cruz, man. Ted Cruz. Also, you know what, Ted Cruz? We have this video too, right? So this goes back a couple months, right? But we just saw this, and it's because like somebody made a video about it. Well, not about it. They kind of made it to a beat, and but this was a video that actually was. It was circulated by Ted Cruz on Twitter, and like I said, this happened back in.
Stuff like what's that basketball? There's a basketball movie with Ben Stiller. Which one is that? What's the basketball movie with Ben Stiller? It was a long time ago. I don't even remember much from it. I just remember they on the court shooting and they were horrible.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
But yeah, it was missing music. It was like the music I'm thinking of is like. Well,
actually, you know what? There is music. I just cut it out. If you want to hear, if you
whatever music they have is probably not like it doesn't fit. Like I want to hear a thing like womp 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 womp.
Let me put it back on, and I'm gonna cue the music. Okay?
In the gym, and he wants to play like a game of pickup basketball. I'm walking out the gym, dog. I'm walking out the gym because he probably doesn't even call it basketball. He's like, hey guys, you want to play spherical cylinder bonanza? Let's play spherical cylinder bonanza, guys.
I actually saw the game that it was a 1-on-1 game with him and Jimmy Kimmel, and he ended up beating him. I think it was the score of 11-9. They're both just horrible at basketball. They're just awful at basketball. I don't know what it's like he's a goofy guy, man. He's a really goofy, lame guy.
He probably has like he probably wears like Leave It to Beaver compression sleeves, or like the Brady Bunch high socks.
With the like the blue and yellow,
blue and yellow stripes. Yeah.
Man, like I said,
He got his Leave It to Beaver headband.
And see, you know what? Even if I agreed with this guy politically, this would still be mad lame. This would still be like, man, ugh, why are you doing this? This is so whack, man. Like, this isn't even humorous to me. This is just sad, right?
Yeah, no, it's a horrible attempt. Dog, you know how whack you have to be to where you fail at poking fun at yourself?
Oh gosh, like if you poke fun at yourself, at least be good at it. At least like get a laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, because people they do respect that. You know what I'm saying?
If you can find the humor in your own self, yeah, that's great. It's an actual ability to be able to laugh at yourself. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can see like the humor in some of their actions
and their flaws.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or things that they're not good at.
True. But when you're bad at even, oh gosh, man, this dude is
garbage.
Like I said, if you go see that video from June, it's on YouTube from him and Jimmy Kimmel. Both of them look horrible. It's like, how can you be that? Like I said, we played basketball like I said, damn near all our lives. But to be that, you haven't seen it, have you? Haven't, dog.
The whole thing.
It's bad.
Oh, see, no, I'm not gonna watch.
Oh no, I skipped forward a little bit. I couldn't watch because it actually took them like an hour to get 11 points or something like that. It took them a long time. It took them a long time, man. It was horrible, man. All right. I think we're gonna close it off. I think we're gonna we have some other things, but man, it's getting late. 9:15. We want to open this up for callers. So we do appreciate. Do hope that you like the show, like the content that we had to provide to you today. If you would like to call in, we would definitely welcome that. The number to call in is 669-900-6833. So definitely give us a call if you have a question or comment. It could be related to anything that we have talked about today, maybe the past program, or if anything that you feel is like relevant that we need to discuss, something that's happening right now, maybe in your community, your state, something like that. Like I said, it's all good. We will have, no doubt, we'll probably have something to say about it, or if you would just like to inform us about something, doesn't matter.
I knew he was going to do that. I was thinking the same thing. But I didn't want to say it. I was like, I don't want to say it, but I was like, L Train said it. Yin Yang Twins. Gene was like, next it will be a video of Cruz dancing. You don't put it out there.
You remember the video of the bacon, right? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Shooting the assault rifle, trying to burn some bacon.
burn some bacon on a
cook
rifle.
Some bacon.
I'm like, boo, that's whack.
Like,
yeah, I do remember that, June. Trying to kiss his own daughter.
Oh, I remember. I'm look like, on his daughter's face, man. She was repulsed.
He's like, ew. And you know what? I just don't. I mean, I don't know. I can see how sometimes kids don't want to like.
But that was extra. That was extra.
I know that was.
I never looked like that towards my mom. Never.
And the thing is, it's like, wait a second. I was like, you know, your dad's a politician. I guess he was trying some impromptu thing and it failed, thinking he was going to capture some Kodak moment. Oh, I'm sorry, a Hallmark moment. That's more of a Hallmark moment. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, man! It did not land.
Oh man. He should have prepped her at least. It's like, I'm gonna go in for the kiss.
Because she was old enough to understand that, look, the cameras are on me, so like I gotta act. But she wanted no part of that.
Her primal urges of disgust took over. It was like, oh, this guy's disgusting. Get away from me.
I remember the video. You remember that long video he did with his mother?
Oh, dog. Oh, and it was like, we were wondering. I was like, wait a second.
Man.
Like, this is like a setup. Like, they should be playing better. They should be playing along a little bit better than this. They know this is what this is about.
Yeah, because I remember he said something like, she prays for hours for me or something. She was like...
Yeah, she was like, I don't do... I'm like, yo, man, about? Like, you don't just...
Like, spring something
like
when the cameras are rolling,
the cameras are rolling. See, he done ad-libbed, and he done caught him off guard. I was like... I don't think he has that type of family that was going to like ad-lib with him in real time.
Yeah. Like I said, man, he's a lame guy, man. He's just an extraordinarily lame guy, man. All right. But we have somebody waiting, and we're going to take this call. Let me see. Let me Make sure we got all this situated. All right. Let's put. Hold up. You know what? That's mine. I'm surprised it connected because I think I connected yours first. All right. I think we are rolling. Let me make sure everybody can see us. Okay, we good. Okay, where did that thing go now? Where'd it go? Nope, that ain't it. All right, there it is. All right, so we're going to take the call from 770. You're on the air live with LTMB. Hold up, you know what? I got to unmute myself. You're on the air live with LTMB 770.
Hey. Hello?
Was this Tony?
Yep, it's Tony.
What's up, Tony?
What's happening?
Yeah, I was just going to comment on a couple things. You were talking about how Ted Cruz was attacking O'Rourke in Texas.
The what? Cruz in Texas?
You were talking.
Yeah.
That's what how Cruz was. He was attacking O'Rourke in Texas, right?
Right.
Because he was in a band and whatnot. That reminds me of the congressman or the potential congressman in New York. He was a rapper. Remember? And his opponent was attacking him because he was a rapper and he used curse words.
I don't remember that. Where'd you say that was at?
In New York.
That was in New York. Yeah. His name was Antonio Delgado, and he was running for I think the 19th congressional district.
How far back is this?
This year, July. I want to say July. Yeah.
Damn, I don't remember that. I don't think I caught wind of that, or if I did, I don't remember it.
Yep. Antonio Delgado. He's running for a congressional race in New York, and he used to be a rapper. You know, of course, when he was younger, and he had his lyrics had nigga and dead, the dead presidents. They're just people who believe in white supremacy, and his opponent went nuts on him, dude.
Really?
Yeah. He's unfit to be a congressman. Look at his lyrics. He was a rapper. Blah blah.
Was this a state election, or was this for the U.S. Congress?
All I know is New York's. It was New York's 19th congressional district. I'm guessing it was the national, but I'm not sure.
I think this is him. Yeah, I think this is him. Doesn't say what district, but yeah, I'm looking them up right now. The mug looks so clean cut now, though. You know what I'm saying? If I got the right dude, I mean, it has to be because it's the only Delgado in New York, Central New York, Hudson Valley. Yeah, that's funny. He's so clean cut now. That's a stretch right there to try to bring something up, especially back when somebody was so young, and then completely ignore the context of their lyrics. All it takes is, some kind of superficial overview of some lyrics for people to be you know what I'm saying? That's I don't know. That's
you're reaching at that point. You're just reaching for something.
and you know exactly what you're doing then. There's probably a little bit of low-key kind of racism in there too. If I associate him, he was a rapper, rappers, thugs, evil, thugs bad, looting, all these, all you connect all that. That's what that's about, but that's funny. I'm surprised I never even heard about it. I'm surprised I never even heard about that. Vox has a story on it. Damn, that's crazy. His black candidate made a rap album. His white opponent says it makes him unfit for Congress.
And that's what when you mentioned the Cruz story, I was like, it's like you're just reaching at that point. You're just reaching for something to make it stick,
Yeah, that's why Cruz didn't have nothing of substance in that commercial. All he could deal with is about O'Rourke, uttering some curse word from time to time. He had nothing on policy at all. Lame, man.
And another thing that happened, and this was tonight, I think. The mayor of Atlanta, she's ordered the city to cut all relationship with ICE and remove all the detainees from the city jail.
Hold on, say that again.
the Atlanta mayor, I think her name is Keisha. She ordered the city to end the relationship with ICE and to remove all detainees from the city jail, effective immediately.
Wow.
Her Keisha something Bottoms?
Bottoms?
Something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Something Bottoms. Yeah.
I can't remember that.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a move right there.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. And then, of course, when I saw it, I immediately go online. Man, all these rednecks are mad as hell, dude.
No, I was about to say that. I was about to say, it's like, even when, people don't make big moves, they just kind of like present these as moves they want to make, or that's like something they stand up for in general. People, get called names. You already get called out of your name, even if you don't do it. So why not go ahead and do it? They're gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So they already are outraged just by the simple fact that you have those views and that platform, even though, like, in certain cases where the person is not in power, they still get called out of their name. So why not, when you're in power, go ahead and do the things? And
because that was the problem with Obama. That's a lot of the problem what people had with Obama. Like, they were gonna call you. Yeah, they were gonna criticize you no matter what. They were gonna be racist no matter what. So why don't you just stick to what you said your objective was, your platform was, and shove it down their throats? You had a super majority at one time. You could have done that, but instead you wanted to reach across the aisle and make bipartisan solutions and blah blah blah. You didn't get anything done. Yeah.
Exactly, man. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God, I got to see what the reaction is." And boy, they heated down here, dude. I'm telling you, they heated.
Yeah, I see it right now. Yeah, she signed an executive order asking federal immigration officials to remove all current detainees from the city jail.
Yeah, we might have to.
Wow.
We might have to cover that on Tuesday, man.
Wow,
Jesus.
Man. She said, as we work to achieve our vision of an Atlanta that is welcoming and inclusive with equal opportunity for all, it is untenable for our city to be complicit in the inhumane immigration policies that have led to the separation of hundreds of families at the United States southern border.
Now let her be mayor and let Abrams be governor. Oh my God.
Yeah, man, that would be a significant change for a southern state like Georgia.
Yo, I was like, yo, Georgia, dog, stop. I'll be like, yo, stop hoarding. I'll be like, yo, give some of that to us, dog.
Oh, yeah,
because we right next door. I'm like,
we
yo,
right here.
Yo, you're hoarding, dog.
But we ain't got no city like Atlanta.
Yeah, we don't got no black. Yeah, true
like
that. What do they call it? What do they call Atlanta? Call it like the Black Hollywood or something like that.
Yep.
I remember the first time I went there, it looked like the South New York City. That's what it was like.
Exactly.
They call it like the small apple.
Yeah.
Yep. You're right. Yeah, I remember back in the day, it was always like the Black Mecca. It's still like that to an extent, I guess. But I've been living in and out of it for especially out of it for so long. But it has a little bit of what I remember from the '90s.
Yeah, man, we might have to talk about that straight up. I didn't hear anything about this. I'm glad you brought that to our attention.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention those two things, but I'll let y'all go though.
All right, man. We appreciate you calling.
Thanks for calling, bro.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You too, man. All right, so let's go to 512. 512, you're on the air live with LTMB. What's your name?
Hey guys, Josh. I don't know if you remember me. I called in yesterday.
Yeah, man.
You just recently called.
You, man.
Yeah, what's going on, Josh?
Yeah, not much. It's a really good show tonight. Some interesting topics. I always want to call when you talk about Alex Jones. I told you. I think I told you this before. You may not remember, but I went to high school with that guy.
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts or offer my viewpoint on it. Like, I understand it's not the way the Second Amendment works, and I don't even agree with Alex Jones. I think he's totally crazy. But I have to say that I kind of don't like, the way the landscape is now with having a voice. It really is. I almost feel like the Second Amendment should be extended to all these social media platforms because it's the easiest way to get your voice out these days. I don't know if I agree with censoring it like that. I know that's the way it works.
I think if people are going to go ahead.
You got continue.
I thought you were finished, but if you ain't, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. You can cut in if you want, but I guess I didn't have much more to say about it except for that. I think maybe there needs to be a broader discussion on that because, I mean, that's how a lot of people communicate these days. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Like I guess like my personal position is like I agree with the broader discussion because if people are going to suggest something like that, which it sounds like you're suggesting some sort of like public comments type I guess area that's going to be established or it should be established in regard to these platforms. But see, the problem is it can't end there. So if we're going to have that discussions, it's going to have to be very detailed because there's going to be a lot of snags that may come in. It's not just going to be, hey, let's extend the Second Amendment to these platforms. You're going to kind of have to funnel in and usher in a whole new different set of rules in order to regulate that in and of itself. Because I have no problem with having that conversation. It's just that the conversation is going to have to be extended because if you think about these public or these private platforms being made public, when you're saying when people say, okay, they have to be made public, what you are saying is now the government is going to have a hand in regulating how these things function. That is the consequence of that. And I'll use Facebook as an example. Like, for instance, will that apply to all pages within that now public forum? So if Facebook is a public forum, it's the public comments and anybody could come there and do whatever they want. Even with that being the case, it's still going to have rules even if it's a public comments. But if that platform itself, Facebook, becomes a public commons, my question is, what then happens to all the other pages within that platform, within that public commons platform? Will they not have the ability to censor or add or block or, approve of anybody in a private group? So now will private groups exist on this public commons? You see, those are the questions I have. And so those questions are going to have to be answered.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's my only thing. I see where people are going with it because these corporations wield so much power and they've given us such a big platform. It's kind of alluring to extend the Second Amendment to them, but then there's going to be
complicated.
It's complicated. So it's like I'm cool with the conversation as long as people understand that it's going to be complicated. That's all. Because then you're going to have to discuss like how big a platform needs to be for it to become public commons. You know what I'm saying? Those are a few questions I have,
Yeah, because there have been examples, not with Alex Jones, but there have been examples that I've seen with people who, had their careers on that, were dependent on those social media platforms, and they got banned from them, and it really hurt them. I mean, it took food off their table. It's like, and it's not like maybe what they said wasn't great, but I looked at some examples, and it wasn't like, wow, that guy deserved to have his career ended. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen that.
But I guess if you get that, going into it, those are the rules. I guess you have to follow. Just like if you're at a job, you have a code of conduct you have to follow. But it's just kind of a weird thing to me.
I don't think there's a fix to. I mean, like, I understand like people feel uncomfortable because voices are being ousted from these platforms, but I don't think there's a fix to it because, like Mike was talking about, the only fix that I see would be government involvement. And I don't think anybody wants that. I really don't think anybody wants that because if you do have government involvement, I mean, we always hear about this tyrannical government and, you keep your privacy. And if you have government, they're going to be able to see everything that you're doing, or you would think that they're seeing everything that you're doing. So I think that like while some of this, there's an aspect of it that I understand that it is uncomfortable. His Second Amendment, well, I mean, like his First Amendment privileges has not been eroded because like he still has a large following. He still has his website. You know, if people actually do want to partake in his narrative and his version of events or his whatever he chooses to broadcast, there's an outlet for him. Like, he chooses to pay
he's
for
a unique
a site, and look, people can still see him. So his message is still able to get out there.
To him, though.
Yeah,
most people can't get a platform like. I mean, if they get deleted off Facebook and Twitter and all that, it's unrealistic for them to just start up a website and get notoriety. You know what I mean? For him,
That's why it is. I mean, it is uncomfortable if somebody's like actually has a certain gripe where if they're not actually violating terms and conditions, but they're being removed from the platform, like that's something that should be protested. Like that's something that everybody should feel uncomfortable about. Everybody should, I guess, try to attack these companies about, like, make a big stink about it, like actually protest on behalf of these people that have been ousted improperly. But I can't say that that's the case with Alex Jones. I don't know that I can say that he was ousted
definitely
improperly.
not.
Yeah.
Well, that is part of the thing is they actually, I mean, overall they probably do a pretty good job of being fair with it, like saying he's just way over the top. But there are examples, and they did, like that. This one guy I know did get banned. He did get reinstated. He did fight it and get reinstated, but it did hurt him pretty bad. But I don't know. I struggle with it because I'm not convinced that it needs to be. You guys made some good points, I think, but I don't know. It's just technology changes, but the laws don't change. We're still we don't really account for all this new stuff, but it's weird. It's just a total different landscape with it being a private company running it.
Right.
It would almost need to be like the government creates a social media site that has free speech or something, and who's going to use that? Nobody.
That was my exact question. I'm thinking, like, who is going to actually sign up on this platform, this government ran platform for social media? Nah, you can have that.
Yeah.
I don't want no part of that.
Right, and there's
sign up for that?
Right, and there is, I guess, the stance that, well, you have the choice to use it or not, and people choose to use it knowing the rules.
True. That's true. I mean, if the government did, create a platform like that, you would have the option to partake in it, and I guess the rules will be a little bit more relaxed than what have you at Facebook or YouTube or what have you. I'm like, you might actually have First Amendment protections, like you can say what you want to.
But even the First Amendment, as it is written now, how the government applies it properly, still has conditions.
Yeah, you can regulate it.
You say it's not unconditional. So if there's a site that extends, that's a site that's available for people to go. It's a public comments type forum, and the Second Amendment is extended. Those same, I guess, premises that the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, establishes, would exist too. Because if you're extending the First Amendment, you would also extend those conditions. And those conditions, so there would still be
terms and conditions.
It was just, I think,
it might not be extensive.
If I'm like judging what you're kind of saying correctly, is probably more about how these terms and conditions are applied and who they apply to, and whether they're applied across the board. Is that like an accurate kind of assessment of your concern?
Yeah, no, that's definitely accurate. I don't know. I've been thinking about that recently because that just happened to that guy recently, and we were talking about it, and he was really taking the stance that the Second Amendment needed to be extended because he did get affected by it. I don't know, but he did recover from it, I guess. It just made me think about it a little more because before that happened and I had that discussion with him, I was thinking, I wasn't even really thinking about it. But he did kind of make some good points. But he just said that he thought that there needed to be more of a discussion about it.
Yeah, I was
And
just looking up.
is basically the summary of it. But yeah, Alex Jones is, that commercial you played was funny. That's totally Alex Jones. He's such an idiot. He's such an idiot, man.
He allowed himself to get played, man. Because, like I said, he's usually the instigator. He usually keeps other people on their heels. But, man, he got that time, man. Rubio.
Yeah.
Funny, man.
He was such a loudmouth, too, when he was younger. And he's always just, like, going on and on about stuff. But most of us just ignored him. We was like, we didn't think he was going to become this big, huge, famous guy. You know, it's crazy to me that there's so many people that listen to that, and they're like so caught up in believing all this cover up. You know where I think all that started was with the Vietnam War, where that really started gaining momentum. Because it was a legitimate thing that people were, that the government lied to us about that war.
Right.
There were so, and we had people filming it, seeing what was going on. And of course, they now they can't film it because of all that. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. But anyway, I don't know if you guys got more people on, because I don't really have much else to talk about. So, but I appreciate you guys giving me your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, no problem, man. We appreciate you calling in, man. And like I said,
all right.
This is a pretty. Well, I don't know. Was it last week you called?
I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was last week.
Okay, yeah, because there was a gap. So I'm glad to hear from you so soon.
Oh, I thought I called you at your last show. I don't know.
Well, you may have.
Well, I'm talking about before that.
Track of the days.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm talking about before that. Yeah, but you've called in before. I'm just saying, I think we hadn't heard from you before that for a while.
Yeah. Well, you do your show earlier now, so
yeah,
I don't always catch it.
Okay.
But today I did. Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys.
We appreciate you calling in, man. And
good talking to you.
Good night. Good weekend.
Yeah, it was a good show tonight. Take care.
You too, man.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Yeah, I noticed Telesar English came back a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just looking that up. Yeah, because I think we might have. I don't know if we said it on the show, but yeah, Telesur English, their page had been removed on Facebook, and they alerted people about that, and doesn't seem like there was any explanation. Did you see any explanation after, like, they got put back on?
I don't recall. There was
a post?
A friend of mine shared an article with a message from one of the like the administrators of the page, and it did say something about it got taken down without warning. But I don't know. There was not anything definitive. There wasn't really a definitive statement released by Telesar that like detailed exactly the communication, whether it was just an accident. I think that's what it was. It was they say it was an accident, so they weren't supposed to get taken down. So there was no violation.
Yeah. Okay. I was telling Mike about that Alex Jones video. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Seinfeld, but there is an early episode. It's the library episode with Mr. Bookman. He's like this library investigator.
Get it, Mr. Bookman.
But he looks exactly how Alex Jones looked at the end of that video, talking about, "You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence America."
Pretty much, man.
He looked exactly like
and then
Mr.
like
Bookman,
Seinfeld,
the character.
Seinfeld was given the same look that Rubio was given. Like, who is this guy? Like, laughing in his face. Like, is he serious? I'm gonna just let him talk, because I just don't have the energy to really object that much. I'm just gonna be like, who is this guy?
He's like, seriously, who are you? Oh man, favorite video of the year, straight up, man. I loved it, man. Anyway, you know what? Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna look at. I said Vermont earlier. It was Delaware. I don't know why I was saying Vermont. But yeah, I just want to look at the look at the actual count for the Senate race. Yeah, I'm already seeing Washington Post. Senator Tom Carper wins Democratic primary. Let's see. Yeah, he came away 100% in already. So yeah, my gosh, that's not many votes. He got about 53,500 votes. She got about 29,000 votes.
Yo,
that's not even 100,000 votes for a state race. This isn't for a district. It's for a state.
What state?
Delaware.
Okay, it's Delaware, man.
Damn.
I know. It's Delaware, man.
I'm just saying, man. I wonder how many votes the congressional district has.
Like
20. I wonder how many congressional districts there are in Delaware.
It's probably spread out. It's probably big districts.
Nah. Well, yeah, like yeah.
You know what I mean by big.
Yeah, big districts,
small districts, but like within like
population
Yeah. Based on how big the state is, they're pretty big. Spread out.
How many congressional districts there are? Yep, it looks like there's one. Yeah, they have one district. Yeah, they have one district.
Wow.
Population, like just under 1 million in 2015, like 945,000. But still, I think the amount of people that are eligible to vote in Vermont, I think it's over 500,000 though. I think, if I'm not sure about that. Like I said, a state race, you don't even get to 100,000 for the Senate race. My gosh, man, it's crazy. Oh well. Anyway, like I said, I knew that was going to be an uphill climb for Harris against Carper. She didn't get anywhere near the coverage of some of the others. So, it would have been nice. It would have been very nice to oust a centrist Democrat, a long-time centrist Democrat. I think he has been. I think he's actually been in Congress. Like he's been in the Senate since 2001, but like in Congress, I think he's been in Congress for like 4 decades, man. That's way too long. I don't care. No, man. If you aren't like a trailblazer, like I said, like I would consider somebody like Bernie Sanders like a trailblazer. Like he's bucking trends. You know what I'm saying? So somebody like that, I'm like, since it's so unusual for him to be kind of professing the things that he professes, like the things that he supports, like yeah, go ahead and stay because there's not many like you. Mm-hmm. But for the norm, for the normal politician, that most of them are like moderate, like. And you're staying up in here like 20, 30, 40 years? Nah, go ahead. No. You're not doing anything in here.
Especially, like you said, if you're not actually trying to, like, legitimately make waves.
Yeah. You're just there.
That means you're a part of it.
Yeah.
That means you're a part of it.
You're just there. You're collecting the check. You're just there. Get up out of there. You're not, at that point, you're not a public service anymore. You're just, what? In it for yourself, I guess. Really.
It's almost like you're a professional grifter. That's what you are. You're not like you're like a stationary grifter because you're staying in the same spot. You ain't like going to place like grifters do. But I would say this is more of like a stationary grift, like
because again, like Carper, like how many times have you even heard of Tom Carper? I can count on my hand how many times I've heard of Tom Carper. He's virtually not even there. If you want to stay there, make some moves. All right, but yeah, I think that's all we got for you. Let me go back. I think we're about to wrap this up, but let me see if we had anything else. Oh yeah, we can briefly mention this. Roy Moore That Roy Moore.
Oh Lord, I totally forgot about Roy, bro.
Yeah, that Roy Moore.
I totally forgot about Roy, bro.
Roy Moore, the one that was accused of sexually inappropriate behavior concerning a few different women. Well, they're women now, but back in the day when they were underage girls, they accused him of sexually inappropriate behavior. That Roy Moore, a few weeks ago, he appeared on Sacha Baron Cohen's "Who Is America" on Showtime, and it was a hilarious segment. It was a hilarious segment.
It was one of those things where it was like you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what he was going to do until that one, and it started being like you knew when he pulled out that thing. I was like, oh gosh, it's going to be so funny.
He had the pedophile detector. So it was the character. What's his name? Amron. I don't even have it. Amon. Iran, whatever. It's like this
Israeli self-defense or
expert or something like
defense
that.
expert / Second Amendment. Like I don't know what he
something
is.
Like
something
that.
Like
yeah,
that.
But it's Baron's Sacha Baron Cohen's character, and he got Roy Moore to come to Washington D.C. to accept an award due to his support of Israel. So in talking to him on camera, he was saying things like, Israel has developed all this technology and some of it has surprising usage. Like it can actually detect pedophiles. And so he pulled out and he waved it and it started beeping.
No, you actually before, like as soon as he pulled it out and said what it was about, you could tell like Roy Moore was like, oh fuck, what did I get myself into?
Oh.
He was like, oh, you could tell he was just like
damn it, I'm on camera.
Damn it, I'm on camera. I can't like wiggle out of this. But yeah, you knew what was gonna happen. You knew it was gonna beep, and he was like, wait. He was like, it might be malfunction.
Yeah, let me get the other guy.
Let me get the camera guy or something, or guy in the studio, whatever the dude's name is. And he's like, oh, it doesn't do it on him. Let's check myself. And it didn't do it on him. And then he did it on Roy Moore. Beep, beep.
Killing me, though. But anyway, so in response to that, like I said, that was hilarious. But in response to that now, Roy Moore is now suing Showtime and Sacha Baron Cohen for $95 million. 95 million big ones. He's suing them. And he said that it's because of defamation, of course. But the lawsuit states, quote, this false and fraudulent portrayal and mocking of Judge Moore as a sex offender on national and international television, which was widely broadcast in this district on national television and worldwide, has severely harmed Judge Moore.
Can't even get through it.
Has severely harmed Judge Moore's reputation and caused him, Mrs. Moore, and his entire family severe emotional distress, as well as caused and will cause plaintiffs financial damage.
How? Like, okay, yes, defamation suits surround the idea that you have, tarnished or destroyed someone's reputation. I'm sure Cohen is not the person who put the nail in that coffin.
Seems like Roy Moore.
Whatever reputation Roy Moore had remaining, is it worth $95 million?
Are you crazy? Absolutely not.
Did Cohen do $95 million worth of damage? Like, you have to prove that. Again, you have to prove that they were in line to make a lot of money.
Yep.
So, because if he's saying the Moore family lost money, you got to show where they were making money. Mm-hmm. And from what I've read, they are strapped for cash because of legal fees.
Remember, they were trying to appeal to their supporters for some money too before this. This was months before this. Yeah. So they were trying to get some cash. Man, get out of here. Now, of course, as is very common, the show, Showtime, Sacha Baron Cohen, Who Is America, they get people that appear on the show to sign waivers.
A waiver, yes.
So
It's a no-go because he signed the damn waiver.
I mean, you can allege that you were brought
on false pretenses.
But that's the whole point of a prank. You know what? I don't even believe that he was brought to Washington, D.C. on his own dime. I don't think he was brought there on his own dime. Like, we don't see all the background of how, like, this show and Sacha Baron Cohen actually gets these people to sit down with them. But I know money's involved.
And also, since other people have been humiliated on the show, where are their lawsuits? He's the only one suing because
he wasn't the only one.
Coincidentally, he's the only one that's hard strapped for cash, and he's facing a heavy burden of legal fees right now.
Heavy burden, yeah.
So yeah,
like you said, is whatever is remaining from his reputation, is that worth $95 million? Actually, it would have to be worth more than that. Because you're just trying.
But see, it's not just about that. Because it's like part of it is not just about your worth being, I guess, depleted. But when I read the statement from Roy Moore, it was about being humiliated and being ridiculed afterwards. After the show aired. But I was like, wait a second.
You've been ridiculed.
Exactly. And I was like, you've been ridiculed and being ridiculed before the show aired.
Way before.
Man.
Yo, late night hosts? Really? Where's your lawsuits against them? Because they had a time with you. What about the Washington Post, who was the ones that actually brought to light all of these issues in your past? And they actually talked to people that knew you, that knew about you in Alabama. And they stated that, that was known about Roy Moore, that he liked them young.
But yeah, this one show did it. This one fucking show did it. But see, like, think about that though. What if proceedings go forth, which I don't think they are. What if a civil case go through?
Out quick, man.
Not that it'll be tossed out, but you know what's gonna happen. Discovery. See, again, I don't think he thought this through, though. Because when you're desperate and you're strapped for cash, in desperation, sometimes you make not so good decisions. And if a lawsuit like this would actually go forth and go to trial, then there's going to be discovery motion. And that would be interesting. And most likely in that process, there will be stuff revealed that would kind of validate and help out Roy Moore's victims. Because all this stuff would have to come out.
Yeah. End of the story. He ain't getting $95 million. He ain't even gonna get a cent.
I was about to say, I was like,
it's not gonna be a settlement.
It's not even gonna settlement. Like,
nah.
And maybe that's what he was hoping. Maybe he thought like Showtime would be like, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and settle because we're not going to give up $95 million. Let's go ahead and settle. I think that's why the amount was so high. And that's funny how you just stop it at $95 million. Why not at $100 million?
Yeah, why not go all the way to a nice round number?
Exactly. It's like this. 95 just seems a bit reach.
So how did you calculate your worth? I guess what your reputation is worth here and your future earning potential.
But then he would have to I guess prove to the court that his reputation was solid before the show. Was solid.
How are we gonna do that? He's gonna have to erase about a year.
Yeah, like maybe if he does that. Like, see, a year ago, man, I was sitting pretty. Just totally erase everything that happened a year before that.
Man, I'm dying.
Or a year leading up to that.
I'm dying over here. Yeah, because he was sitting pretty about a year ago. Leading up to the special election. Oh yeah, man, he was a shoo-in. Good old Roy Moore, man. Good old Roy Moore. He's just trying to get his money, man. You know what this would mean for other prank shows, man? I mean, Mike, you wouldn't be able to prank anybody.
You wouldn't be able to prank anybody because, like, even the littlest prank, I can say, I saw myself on a prank video on Facebook.
Yep. You defame me.
You defame me. I feel destroyed, ridiculed, humiliated. I can't go anywhere. Humiliation has come upon me. I need some bucks and big bucks.
Wow. All right, man. We're going to get out of here. We hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight, and definitely want to give another shout out to our callers, who are Tony and Josh. Thank you for calling in and adding to the program. Definitely appreciate that. Appreciate everybody in the chat section mixing it up, giving us some things to talk about too, and talking amongst yourselves. As always, we have some trolls. As always, that's common. Doesn't matter.
I don't know if we had any tonight.
Didn't have any?
I don't think so. We had a couple. I don't know if I could. It was kind of trollish, but there was one,
difference of opinion, maybe something like that. Not necessarily trolls.
Plans for the weekend.
You know better than to ask us that.
I know I'm working. I'm working Friday and Saturday. I don't know about Sunday, but I got work to do.
Sure.
What was that? Vanessa Williams?
Yeah.
I got work, baby.
That was my.
I got a job.
Mid-90s. That was my woman. Mid-90s.
Work to do.
Which was kind of late, actually.
Yeah, I know. That was.
She was.
Tamia was my girl. Tamia, Janet Jackson, Sade.
Janet was my first. Back in like '85.
That was just true that.
See, I like Janet had remember the curvy face. Mm-hmm. She had a little bit more meat on the bones.
True that. Who else? I had a crush on Left Eye and T-Boz.
Okay.
And I like Chili. I like all three of them.
I
think my perspective of my crush on Chili dissipated once I actually grew up and saw her in reality TV. And I was like, ooh, shit. I didn't even know her. I don't like her no more.
Yeah.
She's so whack, dog. She's whack as a mug. T-Boz is cool in real life.
Yeah, T-Boz is
I don't know him in real life, but I'm saying like interviews.
Left Eye was cool.
And Left Eye was cool, but Chili was the whack one.
Yeah. She did seem like the outsider kind of the three. Yeah. Anyway, but I don't know what I'm doing. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to put together some of these videos so that we can have some clips to put on YouTube so people can get smaller clips of content from LTMB. We haven't done that in a little while, so I'm gonna get on that. Other than that, man, another shout out to our patrons on patreon.com. Definitely want to highlight those individuals for giving us their hard-earned money every single month. They believe in us. We appreciate it. Always appreciate it. But for all you too, that, like I said, come and partake in the show. Come and try to consume what we have to offer every single week. Like I said, man, can't be more appreciative to you. We hope that you have a good weekend, a good night, and we'll see you in few days next week. All right, Tuesday 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace out. So it was a low scoring game.
I saw
6-3 right now, though. 65 yards passing? That's it. No, 95 now. 61. But that ain't offense at all, man. My God, what's been going on, man? You got Jay Ajayi?
Nah, I was thinking about it. I
don't trust him, man.
No, me neither. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I was about to get him. I was like,
yeah, I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all, though. But I thought Blunt was still there, but he ain't. He's with Detroit now. But they got that dude Kerryon Johnson. He's the rookie there. I don't know where he came from. You know where he came from?
Auburn.
Okay. But he probably gonna end up being the guy. No music. Oh.
Switch, bring it back.